Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
The right-wing smear machine has gotten
Alex Jones. He's a conspiracy theorist.
Radio talk show host Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
His name is Alex Jones.
Jones is the wildly popular conspiracy theorist.
Radio talk show host and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones.
Alex Jones, the nutjob radio guy.
Talk show host Alex Jones.
A man who trades in such sinister conspiracy theories, you have to wonder if he really believes half of what he says.
I'm here to warn people. You keep telling me to shut up. This isn't a game.
Hate speech. Can anything be done to stop the hatred?
I think Alex was the one who took the pro-gun position.
1776 will commence again if you try to take off firearms.
I don't want that man to have a gun.
Alex Jones is a 9/11 truther.
That conspiracy theory comes from the mother of all conspiracy theories. It's an internet talk show called Infowars.
I heard that on Alex Jones, so it's true.
Dave.
I heard it on Alex Jones, so I know it's true.
You're making some very serious allegations against the U.S. government, saying that they stage attacks, they allow them to occur in the United States against U.S.
Let's
citizens.
declassify.
Alex Jones may sound crazy.
I think that Alex Jones is a lunatic.
That man's a threat to this country.
King of the conspiracy theorists.
Deeply, I think, racist.
I just got called racist by MSNBC.
He's considered legit among the crazies.
Challenge Alex Jones to a boxing match, show up with a semi-automatic that you got legally, and pop him.
I'd love to see that. In uniform.
Keep shoving lies at your audience, jackasses. I like that guy.
That is the best.
We have gangsters running this country. Criminals, gangsters.
The bigger this war gets, the more freedoms we lose.
We have a fog that has descended on our entire nation.
The globalists are going to blow stuff up and blame it on you.
Well, Hillary's the one who runs the cover-up.
Everything you've heard us talk about is now going to unfold in triplicate spades. This is real as it gets.
I had a Supreme Court justice tell me to my face, it's over for me. I said, Matt, it's over for you. They've got the votes now to enforce copyright law. You're out of there.
You want it, baby? You're about to get it.
We did meet the British at Concord Bridge to serve tea, be tolerant, and see how many guns or what kind of guns they came to take. We met them at Concord Bridge, and we blew their punk-ass brains out.
Infowars has been able to break every record, infiltrate every operation, blow the criminal cover of operatives more than any other institution out there of freedom. And I'm so proud of that.
The notion that Hillary has somehow been an advocate for women. No, Bill rapes them physically, and then Hillary rapes them psychologically.
I hope the enemies of this broadcast, when you lie about us, when you censor us, when you attack us, when you delist us, when you do that, you're signing on to the other side.
These people are of the devil. Let's be very blunt about this.
Raise hell and demand accountability.
It is the most corrupt, degenerate, criminal government in American history.
From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
The crowd is now moving forward toward the barrier. The police have been telling everybody they are going to shoot if we don't move back.
Their defeat will be ultimately a crushing one.
Welcome to this live edition of the Infowars Nightly News. It's Wednesday, March 15th, 2017. We're going to be going to the Trump rally that's being held tonight in Nashville, Tennessee. We'll be doing that probably at the bottom of the hour. As soon as Trump begins to speak, we'll be going to that exclusively. And, of course, we're also going to be joined by Our staff, Leanne McAdoo, Rob Dew, Owen Schroyer, and others are going to be commenting about what we hear afterwards, and we're going to take your calls. So stay with us throughout this broadcast. We got a big broadcast tonight. It's going to be a big rally. People are already in line, of course, in Nashville because the crowds have not diminished at all since Donald Trump has become president. And so we're seeing him go to the people, as Ronald Reagan had many times said that he would. You know, he was up against a Democrat Congress. Senate and the House were both Democrats. So he said, I'm going to go over their heads to the people. He did that to some degree, but certainly not to the extent that Donald Trump has. So we're going to see what he talks about tonight and get your feedback after he addresses us when we go to that at the bottom of the hour. Today, of course, we had the Federal Reserve give itself a raise. Isn't that nice? We've had the Federal Reserve starting to create another pattern. We've seen this all before, haven't we? We saw them create a bubble throughout the Clinton years. Of course, they started lowering interest rates. They created banks that were too big to fail. They removed Glass-Steagall. But a key part of that in creating that bubble, of course, was declining interest rates that went down and stayed low for a very long time through the Clinton administration, and then began to burst that bubble with a continual series of 0.25% interest rate hikes. And that's what we've seen now. We've seen the second one in just 3 months because, of course, we can't have this kind of optimism and growth in America. We do not have an overheated economy, certainly not compared to China. But, of course, China's economy, there's no concern about anybody throttling China's economy because that's where the globalists want to move everything. But now we have the Feds raising rates. And, of course, this was voted unanimously. They unanimously gave themselves a raise. But where's that raise going to come from? Well, it's going to come from you. It's going to affect the cost of your home, the value of your home, even if you don't have a loan, even if you don't have an adjustable rate mortgage, even if you're locked in to a mortgage, it's going to affect the resale value of your home. Of course, it's going to also affect your credit card rates because they're going to be tied to these interest rates. It's going to affect the price of cars. It will have an effect because they have signaled that they expect to have many more of these coming up this year. And we saw that, as I pointed out. They create the bubble, then they burst the bubble. And now we see that beginning. As USA Today says, what a Fed rate hike means for you, get ready to pay more for everything. Is that the expected Federal Reserve decision today to lift its benchmark short-term interest rate by 0.25% point is likely to have a domino effect across the economy as it gradually pushes up rates for everything from mortgages to credit card rates to small business loans. Consumers with credit card debt, adjustable rate mortgages, and home equity lines of credit are the most likely to be affected by a rate hike. And we're going to see more of this coming. So we saw just last year, the average mortgage rate for a 30-year mortgage was 3.68%. It is now 4.21%. We also have some returns from the Dutch election. We have some early returns. Things are not looking as we had hoped and expected for Geert Wilders' party. And, of course, he had a lot of help at the beginning of the week by the Turks who came to his country to campaign. And here's the irony. They sent their foreign ministers to the Netherlands to campaign because there are so many Turkish citizens in the Netherlands. And what were they campaigning for? They were campaigning to give Erdogan dictatorial powers. When the Netherlands said, we don't want to have that here, they rioted. And Erdogan called them Nazis, even though it was his election where he wanted dictatorial powers. So all of that was pretty much a gift. And the early polls, however, are saying that it looks like the incumbent party is going to have another victory and not Geert Wilders, although they have moved into second place. And remember that in the early exit polls for Brexit, they were showing that Brexit was losing by 10 points that early day. So we do not know for sure, but according to the early polls, they're saying this is the highest turnouts in 31 years. 82% of the people showed up to vote. That is incredible to have that kind of turnout. They also say that this is going to be a historic loss, they believe, for the Labour Party. We see the left losing everywhere. That's the big news. And, of course, one of the things that I thought was interesting as we saw the reaction of the Turks, they really wanted to teach the Dutch a lesson. So they are expelling Dutch cows out of Turkey. Yes, Holsteins are not welcome in Turkey. And I guess they have to do that. They have to throw the Dutch cows out because the Dutch people don't want to go to live in Turkey. I mean, who would want to go there to live under a dictator like Erdogan? And they've underscored why Turkey has not been admitted to the European Union. Of course, Merkel is very happy with the early reports and thinks that they're going to win. Now, last night there was a debate, and win or lose, this is going to continue. This debate is going to continue, and last night in that debate between the man who is currently the prime minister in the Netherlands and between Geert Wilders, who looks to be coming in second, internet polls showed, and a couple of different internet polls, one from the Netherlands' largest corporate publication, De Telegraaf, as well as another individual journalist, showed that Wilders is winning 64 to 36% against Rutte. And so it looks like in both of those polls were identical. And the interesting thing that he said was he characterized the current prime minister of the Netherlands as the prime minister of foreigners. He said, we need to choose for our own people, for our own parents, and not for asylum seekers. You are not the prime minister of the Netherlands, but of foreigners. You are being taken hostage by Turkish President Erdogan. Close the Dutch borders. And of course, the prime minister said, well, this is a totally fake solution. But if it was a totally fake solution, the Turks would not be coming there to campaign for their election. It was vital that they get into not only the Netherlands, but into other European countries because so many of their citizens are not living in their country. Meanwhile, Hungary's Orban makes a rallying call to European nationalists everywhere. He said that European nationalist leaders on Wednesday need to revolt against, quote, an unholy alliance of Brussels bureaucrats, the liberal world media, and insatiable international capitalists. He called on nationalist leaders to bring about a deep but peaceful transformation of Europe. And this was as we saw the election coming up in Netherlands and hoping that we could turn these things around peacefully. But there will be a revolution one way or the other, I'm afraid. Meanwhile, in Scotland, the attempt for the Scottish Prime Minister there to leave the United Kingdom in response to Brexit has now reached, they've had a petition that has reached 100,000 signatures to block that movement. That will require it to be debated in Westminster after getting to that level. In other news, we have word, and we're sorry to report this, Michael Savage, who was on the show yesterday, was attacked last night, physically attacked in a restaurant about 8:30 at night. He was eating at Servino's restaurant, and a guy started mocking his last name. And then the guy threw him to the ground, and they started wrestling with each other, apparently, until the police came. And the police did not apparently arrest anyone on the spot. So we're hoping that everything is okay with Michael Savage, and we wish him well with that. And, of course, when you can't win an argument, then you get physical with somebody. And, of course, Michael Savage, I'm not saying he can't take care of himself, but he's 70 years old or so. I mean, I don't know what this guy thinks he's going to prove to attack somebody. I guess we should all agree with his political positions now. And we see, as a report on Infowars.com, that senators are now asking Secretary of State Rex Tillerson to investigate George Soros. GOP senators are asking Secretary of State Rex Tillerson to investigate claims that the Obama administration used taxpayer money to fund leftist billionaire George Soros' political groups and activities abroad. Senator Mike Lee is the one who has co-signed this letter from several senators. He said foreign officials and foreign political leaders have revealed to him, quote, reports of U.S. activity in their respective countries. He said this includes reports of diplomats playing political favorites, USAID funds supporting extreme, sometimes violent political activists, like the ones that attack you on the streets, the ones who attack you in the restaurants, like they did Michael Savage, and U.S. government working to marginalize the moderates and conservatives in leadership roles. He went on to say this sort of political favoritism from our missions around the world is unacceptable. And Senator Lee is referring specifically to the USAID funding of Soros's Open Society Foundation in Macedonia, where the group's stated goal is to build vibrant and tolerant democracies whose governments are accountable to their citizens. But critics contend that it is a front for Soros's destabilization programs and color revolutions that we have documented for well over a decade here at Infowars. Now, earlier today, we had Craig Sawyer, a Navy SEAL, came on the show with Alex Jones. And I want you to hear a clip of that interview. He was calling for people to support Trump. He said Donald Trump is trying to unite people and unite this country But all the left wants to do is get violent with people, as we see with this attack on Michael Savage, and divide us. This is what he had to say. Craig Sawyer with Alex Jones earlier today.
Talk show host is Alex Jones. He's a conspiracy theorist.
Radio talk show host Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
His name is Alex Jones.
Jones is the wild.
Tyrants and predators prey upon the fearful. And if we unite as a group of veterans, as a country, as a population against the tyrants, against the subversives that are attacking our president right now, we can disempower them and regain control of our country in a larger way. So I think really we all need to unite. Together we are what we can't be alone, a nation. And only our enemies want us divided. So if I see any so-called leader causing division, I've got a real problem with that. I question that motive. And what is President Trump saying? He's saying, let's come together, all Americans. Let's assimilate. Let's all enjoy the freedom, liberty, and prosperity together as Americans.
And isn't that, deep down, isn't that what we want? I mean, that's what Trump's promoting is unity. They call it division.
Well, the only reason people could have a problem with it is because they're hearing that he eats puppies or that he, mashes kittens' paws or whatever the crazy stuff is being peddled from the left daily. But now I think increasingly Americans are starting to see, wait a minute, what they're saying is not true. We're actually seeing factually laid out that what is coming out of MSNBC and other outlets is just completely false in so many cases. So why do they keep pushing this? Which leads me into another point, Alex, that I want to make. We need to understand as Americans where we're getting our information. Who is peddling our talking points and our thoughts? Ultimately, and correct me if I'm wrong, all of the major news outlets in the United States are ultimately owned by only 6 entities.
It was 6. It's like 4 now.
Okay. And I challenge people to look at
and the Chinese communists are buying those.
Those 4 entities and what are their outlooks? What are their...
Well, 6 studios and 4 news groups. Well, they could say 5, but yeah, exactly. So what are they doing?
What are their views about the United States? What do they want?
They want to get rid of it. They admit that.
Do they love the United States and want us empowered and free, or do they want to subjugate us? Do they want to gain dominance over us? So I think we've really got to peel the blinders off America to look at who's feeding us our information and go, wait a minute, what are their motives?
The average person's life is filled with unexpected challenges. Unlock the energy it takes to defeat these daily beasts with super male or super female vitality, specifically designed to assist the body in regulating proper hormone balance to create superior vitality in males and females. Supercharge and conquer your world at InfoWarsLife.com or call 1-888-253-3139.
Welcome back to this live edition of the Infowars Nightly News. I'm David Knight on this Wednesday, March 15th, 2017. We're going to be going to the live Trump rally. We're going to have live coverage of that. And we're going to also have our reporters, Leanne McAdoo, Rob Dew, Owen Shore, and others are going to be joining us for analysis. And we're going to be joining you for analysis. We want to hear what you think of this rally, what you think of the state of the nation. So stay with us. We're going to be going to the speech, the rally in Nashville live, and then we're going to be taking your calls as well as talking about it amongst the staff here after the rally. Today we have Trump ordering the State Department to cut UN funding in half. This is a story from Infowars.com by Clifford Cunningham. Globalists claim the UN budget cuts will lead to chaos. Well, it might lead to chaos for the globalists. It will not lead to chaos for the rest of us. This is coming from Foreign Policy, and they're citing 3 unnamed sources at the State Department as the source of their reporting. They say this move constitutes an unprecedented retreat by the administration from international operations. And listen to the importance of the UN as you think about this. They keep the peace. How many times have we reported on UN peacekeepers doing sex trafficking, attacking children? We've seen this over and over again. I don't think they're doing a very good job of keeping the peace. Of course, they're providing vaccines for children. Can't have enough of that, can we, with autism and other issues with that. Monitor rogue nuclear weapons programs. I don't think they're doing a very good job of that either. And promoting peace talks from Syria to Yemen. I think they're failing I think when you've got an organization like this that is doing such a bad job, maybe it is time to cut them in half. Because what they're really doing, folks, we understand that they're promoting their agenda, things like the war on drugs. That was a UN agenda. Remember, that was created, that didn't start with Richard Nixon in 1971. Richard Nixon used the UN agenda. He had the same schedules, the same drugs in those schedules. He just put that in verbatim, just as we're seeing Agenda 21, which is a UN agenda, or the Agenda 2030 for sustainability. That is an agenda for austerity, not for sustainability. That is an agenda for creating world government, for massive crony capitalism, and yet they sell it as protecting us from unicorn farts. So we're going to see, they say the U.S. contributes approximately 22% of the UN's regular budget. So if we were to cut that in half, that would be an 11% cut for the UN. They would feel that. They would feel that severely. That would be a major victory for freedom throughout the world, including money that's earmarked to battle climate change. 28% of the peacekeeping budget is provided by the United States. So that would be a 14% cut for that. And the UN High Commissioner for Refugees gets $1.5 billion of its $4 billion budget from the U.S. If that were to be cut in half, that would amount to a 38% cut for the UN. So yes, it may be some budget chaos for the people who have been doing things that are not in the interest of the United States or really, frankly, any country, whether it's a developed country or whether it is a developing country. As a matter of fact, in the developing countries have been some of the worst things that the UN has done. And of course, they don't believe these people should be allowed to have air conditioning. The planet might melt, as Obama said. Meanwhile, Drudge is mocking climate scientists. He says, you can't even predict snow. This is an article at Infowars.com. Matt Drudge tweeted out earlier today, he said, Trump should clear out climate hysterics from NWS, the National Weather System. All storms grossly exaggerated. National Guard called for 3 inches. JFK closed. He said, this is laughable. And of course, folks, we've reported on this many times. We went to the American Meteorological Association when it was here in Austin. We looked at the people who were trying to predict the weather a couple of days in advance, and they're having a very hard time doing it, as you can see in New York and the Northeast. They are constantly, however, working on those models, trying to refine them and tweaking them because they can see the results of that. When you're talking about long-term climate change, then basically you can't push back against that because they're talking about things that are 50 years in the future. You can't measure that. When they do have some predictions, and they do make predictions, just as we saw Al Gore making predictions about what was going to happen in the Arctic and the Antarctic, we can see that those have failed. We know that they have ignored the tolerance of measurements. We know that they don't have a very large historical global database of records to go through. Remember, we have talked to here at Infowars the founder of the Weather Channel. And he said, they don't have that kind of tolerance. You can't tell us that the oceans are going to melt with a 1 degree increase in temperature because you don't even have a database to measure that against that's reliable. For the most part, they were looking at analog thermometers. And where the thermometers are located is a big difference. So they didn't have the records from exactly the same places with exactly the same type of development. If you have an area that used to be rural and now it is a concrete jungle, you're not going to get the same kind of measurements. It's going to skew your results. So if you start out with garbage into your model, even if the model were good, but the models can't be tested, this is what's going to happen. So yes, it is absolutely laughable. But you have to understand that they continue to push this as they do at the UN, because if you're going to have a global government, you have to have a global problem and a reason for enacting global taxes. That's why they will not let climate change go. So Matt Drudge was spot on when he said that. Meanwhile, we see that there was a hearing today. A House Intelligence chair spoke about the idea that Donald Trump had been wiretapped. Remember, Donald Trump tweeted that out and put in parentheses, I've been wiretapped, quote unquote, because, you know, we don't live in a world where they come in and tap your phones. Phones aren't connected to wires anymore. We live in a wireless world, but we also live in a warrantless world. And so now they're playing this game, saying, show us where Obama or the FBI or some other law enforcement organization had a warrant to come after Donald Trump. They're pretending that we haven't had the Snowden leaks. They're pretending that we have a government where law enforcement and the intelligence services obey the Constitution and get a warrant. We don't live in that kind of world anymore, and we don't have wires to tap. But we've got Senator Lindsey Graham doing his wire tap dance, and that's what he was doing today, saying we will stall the Department of Justice nominee for deputy if the FBI does not comply on wiretaps. He said they will stall confirming Trump's deputy attorney general if they don't provide evidence of wiretaps or say that they don't have them. He said, Congress is going to flex its muscle here. You'll see that all over the place. Well, I don't want to see Lindsey Graham's muscle if he does have one. They're going to say clear the air and see if a warrant was ever issued against the Trump campaign. Now, Nunes from California came closest to getting this right. He says, of course, President Obama wouldn't physically go over to Trump Towers and tap his phone, and he wouldn't tell other people to do that either. Remember when Donald Trump put this out, he said, this is Nixon and Watergate. Did Nixon get a warrant for spying on the Democrat National Committee? No, he didn't. Did he issue a warrant to the plumbers? No, I don't think so. Did he do it surreptitiously? Of course, when you do that sort of thing. Does our government do that all the time? Of course they do. He says, you're not going to take the tweets literally. He says there is a concern that the president has about other people, other surveillance activities, looking at him, looking at his associates either appropriately or inappropriately. And we want to find this out. And I covered this extensively on last night's news, the night before. And, of course, we've had Michael Hayden, who is going around the talk circuit saying if you want to know if the CIA and the NSA and the FBI are listening to you, President Trump, just get on the phone and ask them. And, of course, they'll tell you, just like James Clapper lied to the American people, lied to Senator Ron Wyden, and we've seen Michael Hayden say it's Ron Wyden's fault. He knew that that program was going on. And all the senators there knew, and their staff knew. And he should have asked that question. He shouldn't have put James Clapper in a situation where Clapper would lie to the American people. Well, Clapper was violating the law. We also had, in that same meeting, we had Michael Hayden. This was 2 years ago. I covered that extensively he went to Washington and Lee, and he said something I think is still very pertinent. He said, we don't listen to bad people. We listen to interesting people. Do you think the President of the United States is an interesting person to the intelligence services? Yes, of course. Do you think a presidential candidate is interesting to them? Well, yes, of course. So we know exactly how that's going. Now, we got our reporters in the other studio. We got Leanne McAdoo and Owen Schroer. They've been watching the crowd as they're building in Nashville. And, of course, we've got large crowds there, and they're waiting for that to begin. Tell us what's coming up, Leanne and Owen.
Well, David, we are just waiting for, apparently the president did land there in Nashville about an hour ago, and we're waiting to see what's going to happen, if he's going to bring out any special guests. He was in Detroit earlier today speaking about potentially repealing those, doing away with the regulations on just the fuel regulations that the Obama administration kind of levied, saying that really is restricting a lot of growth there. So it'll be interesting to see if he brings that up, as well as the Rachel Maddow meltdown. I think he's not going to waste the opportunity to give her a little jab. So
I'm sure he will. Yeah.
And of course, we know there are a bunch of anti-Trumpers outside of this event, but luckily we're focusing on the inside of the rally tonight. I'm sure we're going to be seeing some videos from outside of the rally, a bunch of people out there protesting, of course.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, that's great. We're going to be checking back in with Owen and Leanne. And, of course, when the event starts, we'll be going to that live, probably covering some of the speakers as they come up, even before we get to President Trump, who will be speaking. And we're going to have your phone calls, as well as the InfoWar crew here, talking about the rally afterwards. We want to get your feedback, what you think about the Trump administration so far, and some of the big issues before us. As Leanne mentioned, Donald Trump is talking about changing some of the regulations, the onerous regulations that have been put on us by the EPA, exceeding their authority, and taking this from an agency that was created by Richard Nixon that I would argue is really not constitutional, not to be shut down. But if you're going to have it, their original mission was to get clean air, clean water. But they have turned their mission into one of promoting climate change. And in order to do that, they have decided that they're going to shut down certain industries. And, of course, some of the corporate average fuel economy requirements that they put on the automotive industry have been counterproductive, as regulations usually are. What we have seen is a switch to high-consumption vehicles actually increasing usage of fuel, exactly the opposite of what they intended. We've now seen an explosion in SUVs and trucks that are less efficient while we see the regulations increasing on cars. A good example of how they get exactly the opposite of what they had hoped. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back with our live coverage tonight for the Infowars Nightly News and the Trump rally in Nashville, Tennessee. Stay with us.
This is one of the biggest secrets out there. The missing link of why our ancestors, whether you were in Africa or ancient Albion, which is England today, why our ancestors were so much stronger. I mean, there are huge archaeological reports, all sorts of anthropology studies. You can look them up for yourself that show that humans, just an average farmer of 10,000 years ago in England, was stronger than Olympic athletes today. In the final equation, everyone knows our modern society has lost its vitality. The sperm counts are down like 90%. People are falling apart. They're totally depressed. They're unhappy. What is going on? Every ancient culture was obsessed with what I'm about to reveal to you. Today we call it bone broth, and for thousands of years our ancestors enjoyed its benefits before it became lost to our modern diets of processed junk. That's why I'm so excited to announce the product that is undoubtedly the jewel in the crown of Infowars Life products. Caveman. We lost our vitality because we just ignored the ancient traditions. Everyone knew that you used all the parts of the animal. You used the skin to cover yourself or for shelter. You used the meat for sustenance, the fat for cooking, but you used the bones for strength. We are now introducing Caveman by InfoWarsLife.com, the ultimate in true paleo nutrition with bone broth, turmeric root, chaga mushroom, and 7 total primal superfoods in a single great-tasting formula. The bone is so amazing. From the outside structure full of minerals and key cofactors to the marrow that produces the blood for the body. This is the engine of the life essence. I've made a lot of important points here, but this is the one you need to research for yourself because it's so key. High-quality bone broth helps support healthy muscles and connective tissue, while the active compounds in turmeric do battle on the cellular level and help fight free radicals. And collagen is essential to aid healthy tendons, ligaments, and muscle tissue. This is an absolute win-win. You get an amazing product produced right here in America. You support Infowars and all we're doing to promote freedom and the restoration of our republic and promotion of freedom worldwide. The journey towards better health and giving our bodies these amazing compounds that God created starts at InfoWarsLife.com. 3 years in the making, incredible research, and the very best ingredients. I'm Alex Jones, and I may not be a caveman, but compared to these trendies out there in the street, I'm as close as it gets. Join me at InfoWarsLife.com and get your caveman formula today. We're selling a product, DNA Force, that is the very best nutraceutical that we can produce. Dr. Group, you took years for you to develop DNA Force for us.
It's been something that I've been working on for a long time, Alex, because I think it's very, very important. What the aging process is when the cell replicates, we lose a little bit of our telomeres. Telomeres are the little cups on the end of our chromosomes.
And when it runs out, you start dying.
We chose the PQQ because it has over 175 different clinical trials. It's one of the most effective substances in the world. It works like an antioxidant. It works to repair nerve growth factor.
So this is a formula to deliver the maximum amount. It's in powder form.
We have so many 5-star reviews. I take this. This is the product that I take.
InfoWarsLife.com, and the profit we make, we fight the globals. We fight the New World Order. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139.
transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
Welcome back to this live edition of the Infowars Nightly News. I'm David Knight, and joining me now in the studio is Rob Dew. And, of course, we are live because we're going to be covering the Trump rally in Nashville, Tennessee. Donald Trump is still going directly to the people, over the heads of the Congress, because he's getting a lot of opposition from even the GOP establishment. We were just talking about Lindsey Graham coming after him. And, of course, we've got other types of softer opposition moving against the agenda that he got elected on. What have you got for us? We're talking about Michael Savage being attacked by a guy in a restaurant who also shoved his dog to the side. But you got some news about a couple other dogs, Snoop Dogg and another little Bow Wow.
Exactly, little Bow. But first, I'm watching on the other monitor in the other studio, and there they have, it looks like some guys or some country western stars who I don't know. I'm not a big country western
The Gatlin brothers.
The Gatlin brothers. Okay, the Gatlin brothers are about to serenade everybody, so that should be interesting.
And Bob Corker just gave a quick speech, too, while we were in break. Just a quick speech praising Donald Trump, saying he was glad to be working with Donald Trump. And he also said that he came out there to stall because there were so many people waiting in line to get in. So I think the Gatlin brothers are actually just stalling for time right now as they're getting more people into the venue. It's also worth mentioning that all of the comments here, as I'm watching the feed, pretty much said that they didn't like Bob Corker and that he was part of the swamp. So I thought I would just mention that.
Of course, a senator from Tennessee.
And that's probably why he's like jumping to the coattails of Trump saying, please don't drain me.
Save my political career.
Exactly. and that's being provided by Right Side Media. But here we have, this is up on Infowars.com today. After mock assassination, Snoop Dogg nephew, Bow Wow, who used to be known, I believe, as Lil Bow Wow, threatens to pimp Melania Trump. Washed up rapper seeks relevancy in attacking Trump. Let's go to his actual tweet. Let's not provide fake news here. Let's go to the actual Lil Bow Wow tweet. Shad Moss, a.k.a. Lil Bow Wow. Ayo, at Real Donald Trump, shut your punk ass up talking SH about my uncle Snoop Dogg before we pimp your wife and make her work for us. So there, and he tweeted that out about 1 p.m. today.
Wow.
Are you, was that yesterday? No, today's the 15th.
It was actually,
right?
it was today. Hey, do you mind if I comment on this? Because this actually really pissed me off.
Oh, you were a little Bow Wow fan?
Well, no, I don't really. Well, okay.
You got all those records?
Well, not anymore. Not anymore.
He was very triggered by this little Bow Wow.
But hold on a second about this. This is actually a very serious thing.
Big
okay,
time.
so
pull up that picture with Trump getting blown away by Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got Snoop Dogg. Let's just look at these two right now. Snoop Dogg and Lil Bow Wow. You got Snoop Dogg, who just basically incited or provided you an illustration of somebody shooting Donald Trump in the head. Okay, so that's inciting violence. That's inciting assassination of the president.
Yeah.
Maybe even, you could probably work a way in to say that might even be a terroristic threat. But that's not my decision to say whether it is or not. So you got Snoop Dogg doing that. Now you have Little Bow Wow saying that he's going to pimp out Donald Trump's wife and to shut his punk ass up. Okay, well, I got news for you, okay? First of all, Snoop Dogg and Lil Bow Wow, if you fake gangsters really think that you're going to start a war with Donald Trump, do you realize that the FBI will come to your front door and then lock the door behind you and you'll never see the light of day again? So you might just want to realize that.
That's actually what the Navy SEAL Craig was saying, that needs to start happening because it's getting ridiculous.
I'm sick of this. The fact, let me tell you something. If I made a video pretending to shoot Obama in the head and then I tweeted out, I'm going to pimp out Michelle Obama to all my friends, I would be locked up and probably deservedly so. But you know what? Speaking of pimping out Little Bow Wow, who grew up a millionaire in the lap of luxury, a total fake gangster. I'm more gangster than you probably, buddy. But regardless, this isn't about me. You want to talk about pimping people out? How about you and your Uncle Snoop Dogg quit pimping out the black youth of America and indoctrinating them into the drug and gang culture? You want to talk about pimping out? That's sick. That is sick. And when they go on social media and make music videos about assassinating the president and continue to divide and conquer this country, I get seriously pissed off, and I would love to see Snoop Dogg and Lil Bow Wow behind bars. I would love it. Let's see the next tough guy gangster step up.
When he makes these videos about assassinating the president, he may find that he might be really pimping out his uncle Snoop Dogg in prison. Because that's where he's most likely going to be pimping him out. I've got an article here about something that's, I think, an important way to push back on what is happening in this country. We've got the NCAA and we've got the ACC, and they're boycotting North Carolina over this bill, the HB2 bill, which essentially said we're not going to allow you to expose our women, our children to these types of situations. We're not going to let you dictate what private bathrooms are going to be. So we've got a lot of people that are boycotting North Carolina about that. Well, I think this is a very interesting move here. We've got a North Carolina lawmaker who has announced a bill aimed at the NCAA and the ACC, Representative Mark Brody of Monroe. He wants to investigate these two organizations and remove their tax-exempt status, saying they're engaging in political activities. And I think that is precisely the point. If they're going to be athletic organizations, be athletic organizations. But if you're going to push a political agenda, and that's what this is truly about, they're pushing a political agenda that nobody in the majority wants. It's an agenda that a very, very small number of people really want, but the liberal establishment wants. If they're going to push that political agenda, they should not have tax-exempt status. So I think that's a very important move.
Yeah, wow. I definitely agree with that. And I think it's funny to see a whole organization, you know, these organizations going, look, we're going to boycott an entire state.
Yeah, yeah.
What does that mean to, you know, the NCAA is supposed to be for young basketball players, right?
That's right.
So they're just going to, I guess, how many titles were won by the state of North Carolina? I mean, I can't imagine putting a statement out like that and just pretending that that's okay to just say, hey, we're going to ignore these young men, because that's what it's there for. It's there for the young men. Yeah. It's not there for the state of North Carolina. Exactly. And then you're saying that we're going to just go after these young men now. I don't understand.
One of the reasons that we have public bathrooms, let's just understand this. So we have to talk to people like their children.
Oh, we
have separate bathrooms for men and women for a couple of different reasons. But the key reason is that besides privacy, is that we're looking at protecting people. And we understand that you don't want to have a woman isolated in a bathroom
with
and have
a
man who can come into that bathroom at will. I mean, you can set up different types of bathrooms, but it's also an issue of whether or not the state is going to dictate to private businesses, to churches, to schools, that they're going to have to do bathrooms the way the state dictates how they're going to do bathrooms, or to have co-ed showers. This is another part of what that's coming in with the transgender bathrooms. So I think it's very appropriate that if these organizations that are getting tax-exempt status because they put themselves out there as athletic organizations, if they're going to get into this political agenda, they lose their tax-exempt status. I think that's a great way to push back against it.
I totally agree. And
hey, let's keep in mind, guys, that we're talking about the NCAA. Not only is the NCAA tax-exempt, they're also exempt from paying the majority of their employees, okay? They don't pay these athletes anything. These athletes generate billions of dollars for these schools, and they don't get bubkiss. And you've got Mark Emmert, the chicken neck Nelly, who runs the NCAA, saying, we can't pay the athletes. We can't figure it out. We don't know what to do. Are you that stupid? Give me a break.
Well, and it's not only that they don't pay the athletes, they also micromanage their lives and what they can do, who they can talk to, when they can talk to them. If you got a gift, you have to disclose it, and if it's the gift from the wrong people, you're done. Yeah. You lose your scholarship, you lose everything. You lose all your eligibility. Yeah. So they really have the power to destroy people's lives, and now they've taken it into, we're going to tell you what kind of bathroom you can use.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, and they don't take care of you after they wreck your body and give you brain damage.
Yes, absolutely. Another issue, we were talking earlier about the EPA and Trump's moves to get them under control. We also have some encouragement in terms of voter fraud. We now have state legislatures that are now looking at putting in voter ID proposals, since Sessions has told the various organizations that were suing the state of Texas that we're not going to move forward with these various lawsuits. And when you look at this, and they're talking about the fact that in Texas, we had one of the strictest voter ID laws. You had to show a photo ID that was either a driver's license, a passport, or government-issued photo ID prior to casting a ballot. Why is that onerous? You have to do that. If you're going to cash a check, you got to do that if you get on a plane. Why is that not discrimination? You get on a plane.
And that law that's not even a real law or a real rule or a real regulation. All you have to do is show a bill.
I know.
And you sign an affidavit.
I know.
You can get around this.
Yeah, yeah.
Even the fact that you can get around it, people still complain. Like you said, you have to show an ID to get on a plane.
I think maybe what we should do
is show an ID to buy alcohol.
We should come after the TSA and say that this is discriminatory.
Oh,
this is
right.
racial discrimination to look at IDs and to vet us down. You can't do that before we get on a plane. They've got 30 states that are currently looking at that have voter picture ID requirements at the polls. Texas will now, they watered that down, as you pointed out, and now they're looking at bringing that back, and another 16 states are considering it. But we have to understand that part of this ID that they're going to vet voters for to see if they're really citizens, part of that is a driver's license.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a citizen to get a driver's license. And that's the whole reason why the Democrats put in their motor voter bills that they've been doing for decades. The Democrats, when they talk about this, they say, well, show us the massive voter fraud that has happened. We need to ask them, why are you establishing a system that invites voter fraud? And you've been doing this for a very long time. Why would you want to set up a system that invites voter fraud? We know why you would do that.
Going back to the TSA real quick, I want to share a tip out there with everybody, and this is bona fide.
Bona fide.
This is bona fide. If you don't like using the body scanner machines and you don't like going up there in them, well, I was coming back from a ski trip. I'd hurt my shoulder, okay? And I went up there and guys, I don't even know if I can lift my arm up over my head. And I went in there and I tried. I couldn't do it. So they took me right out and led me right through the metal detector. And then they swabbed my hands. I didn't even have to go through a pat down.
Yeah.
So you circumvent the pat down and the body scanner machine. If you have a shoulder injury, that doesn't allow you to raise your hands up above your head. And 2 weeks ago, I couldn't do that. It was at a weird injury. I don't know how it happened. I feel better now, though.
So don't raise your hand and surrender.
There you
Never
go.
give up.
If
Never
you
give
don't
up.
raise your hands.
Well, I always opt out, and I understand that they're going to get a lot more touchy-feely about that.
They are.
Thing. So,
So hands down, you don't get molested. Hands down, no molest. Is that what you're saying?
That's pretty much it. If you're unable to raise your hands above your head, then they cannot compel you to go into the body scanner machine, because I think you have to have your hands up to make the body scanner work.
I just got back from vacation. I just got back from vacation.
I think my shoulder's going to go out every time I fly now.
Yeah.
So, but you just have to have like a rolly case with you so that, you know.
Just bring a sling. Just have a sling with you at all
Look,
times.
I'm not saying we act because it's security theater. I'm not saying we all act as actors because it's security theater. I'm not suggesting that in any way, shape, or form.
Mystery security theater.
Good point.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Well, the thing that concerned me when we were on vacation, we went through Orlando.
And you drive, you don't even fly.
Yeah, that's right. I drove. I drove 3,700 miles because I will not fly. And just made a road trip. We went to Orlando. I wanted to see Universal City Walk. We hadn't seen it for a while. I thought we'd get something to eat. We go into that area to start getting in there, and they've got TSA security set up. And I said, do I have to go through this to get into a restaurant? And she says, C. I hit the ceiling. There were explicatives used, and I just can't believe that I've got to go through that. But understand that you are going to have to do that to get into the shopping centers that are going to be run by the multinational corporations like Universal. They are going to be enacting that everywhere for everyone. And that is what is coming along.
They put it in the bus stations. They were searching people's bags in bus stations and train stations. And it's a slow incrementation. Back in, I think, 2009, we were reporting that TSA was pulling over truck drivers and asking them, if you see something, say something. By the way, can we search your truck? Okay, and this was in Tennessee. It wasn't like at the border, because no, we don't want to show that. We don't want to show what's going on at the border. We don't want to show the free flow of traffic there. We're just going to pull over people in the middle of the state and show them. And that was an interesting, I think we put that in police state.
That's the thing that made me so angry about this nonsense from Colbert, mocking Kellyanne Conway because she said, well, you know, microwaves, like you spy on you with microwaves and TVs and phones. Everything that is hooked up to the Internet of Things, including your car, folks, they're not going to really need checkpoints with TSA if they're monitoring everything in your car. And, of course, your phone is most likely going to be hooked up to your car. They're making all the connections available for that. And your car will be talking to the infrastructure about you, not just to other cars about you, but it'll be talking to the highway, which will be owned by the government. They will be taking information out of your phone and turning that over to the government. That is precisely what they want. It is the metadata that is the most powerful information for them, because that's how they see, if you're not a person of interest like Donald Trump, that's how they understand that their narrative is succeeding or failing. They monitor the mass of us. They call it activity-based intelligence, human domain analytics. That is the fastest growing area of intelligence, and that is the thing that we should really fear.
And
more
data
so than
transmission. Data transmission is going to be the new thing. Look, there's an article from 2005 that if Colbert actually did a couple searches on the internet, he could have found when he was making fun of Kellyanne Conway with her microwave cameras. It's design how-to. It's called eavesdropping using microwaves. And you can make these little changes to the microwave, and you actually use it as a radar system. And it can detect fluctuations by shooting out these microwaves. So it can actually hear things. You can actually hear with LED bulbs.
Yes.
And pretty soon LED bulbs are going to be transmitting your internet over electricity lines.
Well,
that's where it's all going.
When Petraeus said this 5 years ago, everybody was saying it'll be your light bulbs, it'll be all these different things. They talked about ovens and so forth. And yet, it was the Danger Room blog from Wired Magazine that broke the story of Petraeus bragging to his venture capital firm, In-Q-Tel, the CIA's venture capital firm. That was when he made that confession. And so they broke that story. And yet, as Kellyanne Conway did that, they said, no, Kellyanne, your microwave can't hear you. That really sent me over the top. The fact that the very people, they know better than that. They talked about it 5 years ago. We've talked about it longer than that. And then they come back and say, no, it can't. And then in the fine print, they say, oh, unless, of course, it's got circuitry in it where it's hooked up to the Internet of Things, and your smart home and all this kind of stuff. It's like, of course.
Oh, by the way.
And you bury that in there. You have the headlines there trying to debunk that and say, well, you know, microwaves can shield transmission and so forth.
Yeah.
They're not going to put the camera in. And that's what he did. He put the camera inside the microwave, and then he does this clowning around where he puts his face in the microwave and says,
well, by plugging it in, you're hooking it into the internet.
Yeah.
Essentially. That's essentially what you're doing. Now, back in the 1940s, the Soviets were able to activate microphones using shortwave radio. They would put the microphone in. You couldn't detect it because it wasn't sending a signal out until they decided they wanted to do it. They had an ambassador for 6 years. The U.S. ambassador's conversations were bugged for 6 years, and they didn't even know it because they were shooting. And this is in 1945. They would shoot it with shortwaves, the microphone, and then it would activate.
In the early 1980s, when I was working as an engineer, they had the tempesting programs.
Right.
Because they knew that people could listen to you, the electronic signals that were coming out of your keyboard as you typed.
Right.
Inside the building, people outside the building at quite a distance could hear what you were typing and deconstruct what you were putting on your screen. So it's gotten a lot more sophisticated than that. And it's
now
just amazing that they try to pretend this doesn't exist.
They can tell where you type it by where the key, you know, they go, oh, everybody has a standard keyboard. Wherever it can hear the difference between typing here for a 1 and here for an A.
Yeah.
It can tell the difference.
Yeah.
That is how scary it's gotten. And if you think they're not watching you every which way but loose, we even have our little smartphones here that watch you all the time. They are doing it, and Kellyanne Conway was absolutely right. She may not know all the technical details. She's not a scientist. Her job was to get the president elected. Her job is not to figure out every little minute detail. Like she said, I'm not Inspector Gadget.
Yeah, so then he made a joke about that.
Sure.
He impersonates Inspector Gadget.
Right.
As I said yesterday, he is nothing but the court jester for the CIA. Having Michael Hayden on after Vault 7 to tell their gullible audience that, no, your television set isn't really listening to you. I couldn't believe it. I actually I took a picture of USA Today and tweeted it out while I was on vacation and said, look at this. Finally, after decades, even USA Today is onto this, but not Stephen Colbert's audience.
No.
They're too ignorant, too partisan.
If you're watching network television, I think you're lost at this point.
Yeah.
You cannot be helped. You're either on your way out the door or you're somewhat retarded or brain dead, because or you're watching it to analyze the news, because you shouldn't be paying any attention to what these mainstream media programs are doing. They are nothing. I mean, they're nothing but fake news, and it's there being propagated by the CIA. The CIA has people in all these positions that they put in here, and they've been doing it for years. It's not anything that's new. This is not brand new. And they say, oh, the CIA is not supposed to work on American soil. You really think they're not working on American soil?
Oh, yeah.
You really think they're not?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, please.
Well, as I said last night, it's gone from Operation Mockingbird to Operation Dead Parrot, because it's as ridiculous as that Monty Python sketch. We showed a little bit of that for people who didn't know it, where he walks in, he says, my parrot is dead. And he says, it's not dead, it's simply sleeping. And, of course, it's this particular blue species of parrot starts going on to some diversionary details like they did with the microwave, what Wired Magazine did with it. But that's precisely what they're doing. They're telling you the exact opposite of what your lying eyes are seeing. Don't believe your lying eyes.
And if you do a search, Kellyanne Conway microwave. Sorry, Kellyanne, microwaves can't spy on you.
Yeah.
A microwave can't spy on you, but other appliances can. And then CDM, you go to CDM. Well, you could spy on someone using a microwave oven as a mic. And it's And they say it's very minute manipulations you have to make in order to be able to use that as a spying device.
But of course, the big thing that we're seeing here, of course, that happened today is people like Lindsey Graham and the Democrats. Of course, he's now, I guess, he's become the leader of the Democrats, leader of the opposition, but coming in and saying, this didn't happen unless you can produce a warrant showing that the Obama administration or the Justice Department or the FBI actually had a warrant to spy on Donald Trump and that they physically did a wiretap. The world doesn't work that way. We have a wireless world and we have a warrantless government. They have no warrant. They have no authority. That doesn't stop them. Haven't you learned that yet? How can he get away with this? This is beyond. I can't understand.
He's opposition.
How
He's
this guy
controlled
can
opposition.
continue to get elected, over and over again.
Well, they got the voting machines in the bag.
Yeah.
That's why. But Dennis Kucinich came out when he was in office. Actually, after he got out of office, somebody played him a phone conversation he was having with an ambassador from another country. And he's like, "Whoa, wait." He goes, "How are y'all wiretapping me?" He goes, we wiretap anytime these foreign conversations come in. We're listening.
Yes.
So you take a phone call from anywhere outside the United States, they can legally listen to you.
And as Michael Hayden bragged, we're not interested in bad people. We're interested in interesting people.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Yeah. What's an interesting person? Donald Trump's an interesting person.
Yeah.
Especially when he's running for president.
Presidential elect. And of course, where has all this been leaked? And as we look at
his national security advisor, he's an interesting person because he knows where the bodies are buried. So we have to get some dirt on him to get his ass out of there as quick as we can.
Donald Trump referenced Nixon and Watergate, and we need to remember who Deep Throat was. Deep Throat was a deputy director of the FBI. It was a coup, okay? And that's what is happening right now with Donald Trump. Here's some positive information, though, Rob. We've got Starbucks CEO, if you remember about a month or so ago. Well, actually, it was January the 29th. He came out and he said, we are going to hire 10,000 refugees over 5 years. And I said at that point in time, I said, you know what? We buy some Starbucks products in the grocery store. And I told my wife on air, and she's kept to it, we're not buying anything else with Starbucks. I never went to Starbucks, but we're not going to buy anything from them. And guess what? Other people are doing the same thing. Their consumer perception levels have dropped by 2/3 between January the 29th and February the 13th. They have not recovered. They are going straight down in terms of consumer response to them.
That's how you vote with your dollars right there. Yeah, it's voting with your dollars right there.
That's right. We've seen Donald Trump voted in, and we're seeing Starbucks being voted out. And
we're seeing Ivanka's clothing line being sold out everywhere it's at. You know, they took her out of some stores, and we're going to boycott it. And you know what? Other people went, we're going to support them. Because the proof is in the pudding, and it's happening. It looks like people might be, I don't know. Of course, Trump's a little late.
Okay, they're still a little bit late. Here's another story.
Well,
this is on MRC TV. U.S. border agents just rescued a 4-year-old girl dumped by smugglers. I think this is very interesting because, of course, we had people like Glenn Beck, who went down to the border to give these little children teddy bears. Okay, we said everybody knows that these kids did not transverse Mexico. This little girl's coming from Guatemala.
Themselves.
Okay, they did not get themselves into the country. They were brought here by their parents, or they were brought here by human smugglers. These particular smugglers just dropped her on the U.S. side of the border in the middle of the desert. People saw this happening. They contacted Border Patrol. They picked her up. And she was going to her parents' location. She had information on her about where her parents were located in the United States. Of course, she and her parents, not American citizens, foreign citizens, criminally trespassing in the United States with the aid of the Mexican government, the Mexican consulate, and people like Glenn Beck, who enable these smugglers. And as they pointed out in this article from MRC TV, they said one morgue in Tucson recently revealed that they've stored the bodies of as many as 850 unidentified illegal aliens who've been found dead in the desert, many of them children. That is the blood on the hands of these globalists and the people who support the open borders and the people who say, we've got to do it for these poor children, give them teddy bears.
We got to give them safe passage. And that's the coyotes that are doing that. That's the name of the smugglers.
David, it's just crazy what you're saying there, because I thought it was very inhumane of us to even consider tearing apart these families and separating mothers and fathers from their children. But you're saying this 4-year-old girl
But they self-separated, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was there with a note of where to meet her parent. That's insane.
Yeah.
I know. What kind of person would leave their kid back behind instead of, hey, we're all gonna make it or we're not gonna make it.
And then pay a coyote who could, you know, do God knows what to this child who's on their own. And then here's a little note and drop you off in the desert. Hope the dogs don't get you and someone will find you.
Well, when you look at these deferred action programs for children, for parents, and so forth, they say you're splitting families up, and it's like you don't have to split families up. They came here on their own. In many cases, it was just pointed out, they split their families up in order to come here. They can unite their family. They can go back to the country where they are citizens, but where their government, like in the case of the Mexican government, they do not want to pay for the education of their citizens, so they send them to America so that we can pay for their education in the language of their choice and sacrifice the American dream of having a home so they can have their dream of a free education in another country that they don't have to pay taxes for. That's the situation.
And there's a lot of money I pay in property taxes each year to educate a lot of kids around.
Yeah, that's where most of your
most aren't citizens, I'm sure.
Everybody
most,
in America, most of your taxes are going to property taxes, and it's whether you are a homeowner or whether you are a renter. You just don't see it if you're a renter.
Right.
But yeah, it's gonna make everybody live in smaller homes or smaller apartments or not have homes.
Or be way outside the city and commute a long way in. Hey, let's play a clip today from the Alex Jones Show. He had James O'Keefe on. He had an amazing show today. He had Craig Sawyer, the retired Navy SEAL vet, Roger Stone, who seemed to be involved in a hit and run, and then James O'Keefe talking about his latest coup. And it's a teachers unions rep that brags about protecting a teacher against raping a student at knife point. And I thought this was interesting because I do see a lot of these stories, and it seems to be more and more, I would say it's 70-30, women seducing young men than it is. And you say seducing, I guess you could say rape too, because if a man did that to a little girl, they'd be calling it rape or sexual assault. And then you see men doing it to women. Very interesting trend that I've noticed in the last few years. Especially Daily Mail seems to love these stories, and the teachers are younger and younger, and the pupils are younger. It's not high school pupils, it's middle school, it's 14-year-olds, you know, maybe a freshman in high school. But let's go to that clip with James O'Keefe. Just talking about what's going on, and then if Trump comes in, we'll of course preempt it. Anytime Trump takes the stage, any time now. I think he went to visit Andrew Jackson today, so he may be getting a little Andrew Jackson love. So let's roll that clip.
Thanks, Alex, for having me.
You got the floor, my friend. Wow, where to start with what Project Veritas was up to?
Well, we just released a story yesterday. The head attorney for the New York teachers unions is caught on video bragging about, this is the attorney for this teachers union, bragging about how he defended a teacher who raped a child. There he is, Mitchell Rubenstein, top attorney for this teachers unions in New York, putting a knife to the kid's head and forcing the child to perform oral sex on the teacher. Now, this was all done under seal. No one found out about it. He's bragging about it to, in his words, quote, impress a girl, is the comment that he has given us now about, I don't know how you impress women by bragging about child rape. But the point of this video is to show that the union is out of touch, out of control with the American people. And now we have Betsy DeVos as the education secretary. She's being attacked. She's under assault. She claims she doesn't like children. But here we have a case where we have one of these top lawyers violating privilege, breaking the law, leaking sexual details of a rape where the teacher was not charged. And he wasn't charged because we think the union protects not kids, but they protect bad teachers. And this video is breaking, and we're getting some reactions, and it may even prompt this lawyer to resign. But this video is we just called Alex this guy's boss, the head legal department for the entire state of New York, and he would not give us any information. He doesn't. All this stuff is happening behind the scenes. And are the rights of the teachers union members so absolute that they supersede the rights of a child not to be forced to give oral sex to a teacher? Are the teachers unions so out of touch and so out of control? I mean, it seems like they've lost their minds as well as their souls. They just have no regard for the welfare of children. And if you dare question them, if you investigate, if you do any of this, you're viciously attacked.
The average person's life is filled with unexpected challenges. Unlock the energy it takes to defeat these daily beasts with super male or super female vitality, specifically designed to assist the body in regulating proper hormone balance to create superior vitality in males and females. Supercharge and conquer your world at InfoWarsLife.com or call 1-888-253-3139.
And don't forget right now, Super Male Vitality, by the way, we're listener supported. So everything you're seeing here is supported by you out there. And we do appreciate your support. Super Male Vitality is 30% off. It is a great product that I use, especially before I'm going to do something really active like play basketball or go on an all-day hike or, you know, just go out and do anything. I brought it with me when I went snowboarding. And let me tell you, it gave me the extra energy I needed to do one more run. That's what I used to say. One more run, one more run. But it looks like people are getting excited. I don't know who this guy is right now.
Lee Greenwood, country artist Lee Greenwood.
Oh, wow. So he's probably going to lead him in a song.
Well, we just want to...
Yeah, go ahead and tell people what's going on.
Yeah, well, so they're still kind of stalling a little bit. Obviously, everyone can see it's kind of pushed, the timeline's pushed back a little bit because for whatever reason, they're having some issues getting all of the people who are lined up to come and see Donald Trump. They're just, the doors have been open since 3:30. You said they had the actual measurement.
Yeah, this is a story that was, this was published on Gateway Pundit an hour ago now. Headline, line to see President Trump over a mile long. Wow. And then they have all of the pictures. They have the photos to prove it. People that showed up well before 4 p.m.
But what's MSNBC going to show? They're going to show an earlier shot. If you look at timeline
on Twitter,
of
CNN.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's all about, they're all the stories now with the headlines. It's
Here
all
comes the president.
Half-empty rally at the Trump rally. Oh, my God, he can't fill a stadium. Yeah. So they're already spinning it.
So, yeah, they've got extra tight security, which is what's taking them so long to get everybody in. I guess we could call that the Snoop effect.
The Snoop, the Snoop little Bow Wow.
Little Bow Wow, Snoop little Bow Wow effect.
Poop dog? Are we talking about Poop Dog?
Yeah.
Well, we've got the president taking the stage.
Trump has landed. Here's a picture, guys. If y'all want to pop this up. This is a picture from Twitter. So just one of the many shots of the line going on. They said the line was a mile long. So they're Lee Greenwood bringing on President Trump. Let's cue up that audio, guys, and let's watch this. We're going to watch it with you, and then we'll be back to comment, and we're also going to take your calls later on. You're watching Infowars.com live presentation of Donald Trump's speech in Nashville, the big rally. This is the post-Rachel
Listen to the roar of that crowd, Snoop Dogg. Listen to the roar of that crowd, little Bow Wow.
They haven't heard that sound.
You losers.
At least 10 years.
To say about Ms. NBC.
Thank you.
Mr. Maddow. Mr. Maddow. You like my taxes?
We're just going to let the other folks come in, fill it up. This is some crowd. You have to see what's outside. You wouldn't even believe it. Unbelievable. So I'm thrilled to be here in Nashville, Tennessee, the home. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
All right. This is the feed from Right Side Broadcasting.
We're just going to let the other folks come in, fill it up.
Yeah,
this is some crowd. You have to see what's outside. You wouldn't even believe it. Unbelievable. So I'm thrilled to be here in Nashville, Tennessee, the home of country music, Southern hospitality, and the great President Andrew Jackson.
Go after the Fed, Donald.
Yeah.
I just came from a tour of Andrew Jackson's home to mark the 250th anniversary of his birth. Jackson's life was devoted to one of very crucial principle. He understood that real leadership means putting America first.
War of 1812.
Before becoming president, Andrew Jackson served your state in the House of Representatives and in the United States Senate. And he also served as commander of the Tennessee militia. Tough cookies, tough cookies.
A little history lesson. Little history lesson from Donald Trump.
Paying attention at the tour he took today.
Military and all of our wonderful veterans, the veterans.
Yep.
Yep.
Listen to the roar of that crowd, little Bow Wow. You want to talk about pimping out the First Lady? Good luck.
Yeah, it's only going to make him roar louder.
And your new album coming out is going to be a piece of crap.
Than with all of you here tonight, with the wonderful, hardworking citizens of our country. I would much rather spend time with you than any of the pundits, consultants, or special interests, certainly, or reporters from Washington, D.C. It's patriotic Americans like you who make this country run and run well. You pay your taxes, follow our laws, support your communities, raise your children, love your country, and send your bravest to fight in our wars. All you want is a government that shows you the same loyalty in return. It's time that Washington heard your voice, and believe me, on November 8th, they heard your voice. The forgotten men and women of our country will never be forgotten again, believe me. I want to thank so many of your state leaders. State Party Chairman Scott Golden, Congressman Scott DeJoy, Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn, Congresswoman Diane Black, Congressman Jimmy Duncan, right from the beginning, Governor Bill Haslam, a great friend of mine, Senator Bob Corker, an incredible guy, respected by all, Senator Lamar Alexander, and so many more. Thank you all for being here. We're going to be working closely together, thank you, to deliver for you, the citizens of Tennessee, like you've never been delivered for before. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are going to reduce your taxes. Big league. Big.
Big league.
Let's go, get on it.
I want to start that process so quickly.
Yeah.
Got to get the health care done. We got to start the tax reductions. We are going to enforce our trade rules and bring back our jobs, which are scattered all over the world. They're coming back to our country. We're going to support the amazing, absolutely amazing men and women of law enforcement. Protect your freedoms and defend the Second Amendment. And we are going to restore respect for our country and for its great and very beautiful flag. It's been a little over 50 days since my inauguration, and we've been putting our America First agenda very much into action. You see what's happening. We're keeping our promises. In fact, they have signs. He's kept his promise. They're all over the place. I have. We have done far more. I think maybe more than anybody's done in this office in 50 days.
I think he's right.
I think there's nobody even compares.
And we have just gotten started. Wait till you see what's coming, folks. We've appointed a Supreme Court justice to replace the late, great Antonin Scalia. His name is Judge Neil Gorsuch. He will uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. We are proposing a budget that will shrink the bloated federal bureaucracy, and I mean bloated, while protecting our national security. You see what we're doing with our military. Bigger, better, stronger than ever before. You see what's happening. And you're already seeing the results. Our budget calls for one of the single largest increases in defense spending history in this country. We believe, especially the people in Tennessee, I know you people so well, in peace through strength. That's what we're going to have. And we are taking steps to make sure that our allies pay their fair share. They have to pay. We've begun a dramatic
Bernie Sanders, you got to pay your fair share too.
Job-killing federal regulations like nobody has ever seen before. Slash.
That tweet did
We're going
not
to protect the environment. We're going to protect people's safeties. But let me tell you, the regulation business has become a terrible business, and we're going to bring it down to where it should be.
You must have some protesters there. We can't hear them
I actually
from the
had
feed,
some
but
people.
the crowd is racking.
I had some people tweeting at me images of there were some protesters gathered outside of the venue too.
Yeah.
People who don't want to work for a living, I guess.
Did Snoop
No, they're
sneak
scared.
Let's go.
One person, and there'll be the story tomorrow. Did you hear there was a protest?
Yeah, I'm sure that they have. The way they do it now is one will pop up, they'll take him out, another one will pop up.
We're going to put our auto industry back to work.
How dare you make America great again?
This new business line.
How dare you give me a
We
job?
are creating jobs that are starting to pour back into our country like we haven't seen in many, many decades. In the first two job reports since I took the oath of office, we've already added nearly 500,000 new jobs. And believe me, it's just beginning. I've already authorized the construction of the long-stalled and delayed Keystone and Dakota Access pipelines. A lot of jobs. I've also directed that new pipelines must be constructed with American steel. They want to build them here, they use our steel. We believe in two simple rules: buy American and hire American. On trade, I've kept my promise to the American people and withdrawn from the Trans-Pacific Partnership disaster.
Day one.
Tennessee has lost 1/3 of its manufacturing jobs since the institution of NAFTA, one of the worst trade deals ever in history. Our nation has lost over 60,000 factories since China joined the World Trade Organization. 60,000, think of that. More than that. We're not going to let it happen anymore. From now on, we are going to defend the American worker and our great American companies. And if America does what it says, and if your president does what I've been telling you, there is nobody anywhere in the world that can even come close to us, folks. Not even close. If a company wants to leave America, fire their workers, and then ship their new products back into our country, there will be consequences. That's what we have borders for. And by the way, aren't our borders getting extremely strong? Very strong.
40% less traffic. Illegal traffic.
As a key point he made, in Tennessee alone, they've lost 1/3 of their manufacturing jobs since NAFTA.
Don't even think about it. We will build the wall. Don't even think about it.
Forget about it. Don't think about it.
In fact, as you probably read, we went out to bid. We had hundreds of bidders. Everybody wants to build our wall. Usually that means we're going to get a good price. We're going to get a good price, believe me. We're going to build the wall. Some of the fake news said, I don't think Donald Trump wants to build the wall. Can you imagine if I said, we're not going to build the wall? Fake news. Fake news. Fake news, folks. A lot of fake. Now, the wall is way ahead of schedule in terms of where we are. It's under design, and you're going to see some very good things happening. But the border by itself right now is doing very well. It's becoming very strong. General Kelly has done a great job. General Kelly.
And MSM will go, he just said it's under design.
My administration is also following through on our promise to secure, protect, and defend that border within our United States. Our southern border will be protected always. It will have the wall. Drugs will stop pouring in and poisoning our youth. And that will happen very, very soon. You're already seeing what's going on. The drugs are pouring into our country, folks. They are poisoning our youth and plenty of others. And we're going to stop it. We're not going to be playing games. Not going to be playing games. Following my executive action, and don't forget, we've only been here for like, what, 50 days?
That's 55
We've
now?
already
56?
experienced an unprecedented 40% reduction in illegal immigration on our southern border. 61% since Inauguration Day. 61%. Think of that. And now people are saying, we're not going to go there anymore because we can't get in. So it's going to get better and better. We got to stop those drugs, though. We got to stop those drugs. During the campaign, as I traveled all across this country, I met with many American families whose loved ones were viciously and violently killed by illegal immigrants because our government refused to enforce our already existing laws. These American victims were ignored by the media. They were ignored by Washington. But they were not ignored by me, and they're not ignored by you, and they never will be ignored, certainly any longer. Not going to happen. As we speak, we are finding the drug dealers, the robbers, thieves, gang members, killers, and criminals preying on our citizens. One by one, you're reading about it, right? They're being thrown out of our country. They're being thrown into prisons, and we will not let them back in.
Oh, the liberals are crying with that one. You're breaking up families.
We're also working night and day to keep our nation safe from terrorism. We have seen the devastation from 9/11 to Boston to San Bernardino. Hundreds upon hundreds of people from outside our country have been convicted of terrorism-related offenses in the United States courts. Right now, we have investigations going on all over. Hundreds of refugees are under federal investigation for terrorism and related reasons. We have entire regions of the world destabilized by terrorism and ISIS. For this reason, I issued an executive order to temporarily suspend immigration from places where it cannot safely occur.
And we just had a second court in Hawaii block that. Can't do it. It's going to go all the way to the Supreme Court now.
But let me give you the bad news. We don't like bad news, right? I don't want to hear. And I'll turn it into good. But let me give you,
alternative
the
good
bad,
news.
the sad
That'll be the phrase.
news. Yeah. Moments ago, I learned that a district judge in Hawaii.
Yep, there you go.
Part of the much overturned Ninth Circuit Court.
Oh, boo.
And I have to be nice, otherwise I'll get criticized for speaking poorly about our courts. I'll be criticized by these people, among the most dishonest people in the world. I will be criticized. I'll be criticized by them
in the world
for speaking harshly about our courts. I would never want to do that. A judge has just blocked our executive order on travel and refugees coming into our country from certain countries. The order he blocked was a watered-down version of the first order that was also blocked by another judge and should have never been blocked to start with.
It just went to Andrew Jackson's grave today. He needs to say what Andrew Jackson said.
This new order was tailored to the dictates of the Ninth Circuit's, in my opinion, flawed ruling.
It is flawed.
He's just a judge. You can do it yourself.
In the opinion
It's not
of many,
constitutionally prohibited.
an unprecedented judicial overreach.
And we saw the last time this happened, it was very political.
The law and the Constitution give the president the
These
power
judges are
to suspend
inserting their
immigration
politics
when
into
he
the
deems
justice system.
Or she. Fortunately, it will not be Hillary she.
Oh my goodness. Can you guys imagine if we had to sit up here all night and listen to Hillary Clinton and her rallies? Talk about the 7 people in the crowd. And
I need a puke bag.
He needs to exercise his rightful power. He needs to apply the separation of powers as Andrew Jackson did.
Channeling his inner Andrew Jackson on Jackson's birthday.
Right.
Jackson was no softie, too.
He or she
If Bow Wow would have
it to be in
threatened
the
to pimp
national
Jackson's
interest
wife,
of our country.
Lock her up chant.
Oh, who started that?
Come on, Trump. Announce something. A special task force.
We still want her locked up.
A special pair of golden
We also have a lot of
handcuffs.
smart people here. Let me read to you directly from the federal statute. 212F of the immigration, and you know what I'm talking about, right? Can I read this to you? Listen to this. Now, we're all smart people. We're all good students. We're all everything. Some are bad students, but even if you're a bad student, this is a real easy one, let me tell you. Ready?
Comprehend.
So here's the statute, which they don't even want to quote when they overrule it.
They just want to bring you
It was
fake
put here for the security of our country. And this goes beyond me because there'll be other presidents. And we need this. And sometimes we need it very badly for security of our country. It says, now listen to how easy this is. Whenever the president finds that the entry of any aliens or any class of aliens would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may, by proclamation, and for such period as he, you see, it wasn't politically correct because they should have said he or she. You know, today they'd say that. But that's all.
Or she.
Actually, that's the only mistake they made. As he shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose on the entry of aliens any restrictions he may deem to be appropriate. In other words, if he thinks there's danger out there, he or she, whoever is president, can say, I'm sorry, folks, not now, please. We got enough problems.
He or she, but not Hillary.
Well, you have the power. Use it.
Exactly.
We're talking
and hopefully,
about
quoting that, he's going to use
the
it.
safety of our nation, the safety and security of our people.
That's right.
Now, I know you people aren't skeptical people, because nobody would be that way in Tennessee. Right? Nobody. Not Tennessee. You don't think this was done by a judge for political reasons, do you? No. This ruling makes us look weak, which, by the way, we no longer are, believe me. Just look at our borders.
That's exactly right. The liberals have made this country into a weak
We're going to
joke.
fight this terrible
They
rule.
laugh at us around the world
We're
now.
going
Not
to take
anymore.
our case as far as it needs to go, including all the way up to the Supreme Court.
Boy, they thought they had that locked
We're
up,
going
didn't
to win. We're going to keep our citizens safe. And regardless, we're going to keep our citizens safe. Believe me.
How dare he? What a Russian agent.
What power does a judge
Liberal
have?
Democratic
He doesn't
lawyer
have
Alan Dershowitz, good lawyer,
Neither does the
just
Supreme
said
Court.
that we would win this case before the Supreme Court of the United States.
I mean, it's listed. He
It
just
was the
read
Supreme
section.
Court that Andrew
Remember
Jackson said
this,
he's
I
made
wasn't
his ruling.
thrilled.
Let's see him enforce it.
Right.
But the lawyers all said, oh, let's tailor it.
Wait till
This
Gorsuch
is a
gets confirmed.
watered-down version of the first one.
They have
This is
separation
a
of powers, not the
watered-down
traditional
version.
version. It's not their
And let me
authority.
tell you something. I think we ought to go back to the first one and go all the way, which is what I wanted to do in the first place.
Seriously, that's the thing. They try to break you down, give them an inch, they take a mile.
The
That's what
law
they are.
is
That's
clear.
their
The
Alinsky
need for
plan.
my
Chip, chip, chip
executive
away.
order is clear. I was elected to change our broken and dangerous system.
Exactly.
And thinking in government that has weakened and endangered our country and left our people defenseless.
You should have the Justice Department go in and say, you have
And I will
no
not stop
authority
fighting
over
for
this.
the safety
Goodbye.
of you and your
We're gonna do it.
families. Believe me, not today, not ever. We're going to win it. We're going to win it.
To tell the judicial system you have no jurisdiction, no authority in this issue.
We're going to apply common sense. We're going to apply intelligence. And we're never quitting. And we're never going away. And we're never, ever giving up. The best way to keep foreign terrorists, or as some people would say in certain instances, radical Islamic terrorists from attacking our country, is to stop them from entering our country in the first place.
should also go on the offensive and impeach that judge who violates the law for political purposes.
We'll take it. But these are the problems we have. People are screaming, break up the Ninth Circuit. And I'll tell you what, that Ninth Circuit, you have to see, take a look at how many times they have been overturned with their terrible decisions. Take a look. And this is what we have to live with. Finally, I want to get to taxes. I want to cut the hell out of taxes. But before I can do that, I would have loved to have put it first, I'll be honest. There is one more very important thing that we have to do. And we are going to repeal and replace horrible, disastrous Obamacare.
Yeah, and he's got people like Paul Ryan and other neocons that are stalling that's stalling everything.
In place, millions and millions of people will be forced off their plans. And your senators just told me that in your state, you're down to practically no insurers. You can have nobody. You can have nobody. And this is true all over. The insurers are fleeing. The insurers are fleeing. It's a catastrophic situation. And there's nothing to compare anything to because Obamacare won't be around for a year or two. It's gone. So it's not like, oh, gee, they have this. Obamacare is gone. Premiums will continue to soar. Double digits and even triple digits in many cases. It will drain our budget and destroy our jobs. Remember all of the broken promises? You can keep your doctor, you can keep your plan. Remember the wise guy? Remember the wise guy that essentially said the American people, the so-called architect, the American people are stupid because they approved it? We're going to show them. Those in Congress who made these promises have no credibility whatsoever on health care. And remember this, if we took, because there's such divisiveness, and I'm not just talking now with me, there was with Obama, there was with Bush, the level of hatred and divisiveness with the politicians. I remember years ago I'd go to Washington. I was always very politically active. And Republicans and Democrats, they'd fight during the day and they'd go to dinner at night. Today, there's a level that nobody's seen before. Just remember this. If we submitted the Democrats' plan, drawn everything perfect for the Democrats, we wouldn't get one vote from the Democrats. That's the way it is. That's how much divisiveness and other things there are. So it's a problem. But we're going to get it by. So I've met with so many victims of Obamacare, the people who've been so horribly hurt by this horrible legislation. At the very core of Obamacare was a fatal flaw. The government forcing people to buy a government-approved product. There are very few people. Very few people.
It's a tax.
By the way, watch what happens. Now, you just booed Obamacare. They will say Trump got booed when he mentioned. They're bad people, folks. They're bad people.
Most dishonest people in the world.
Speaking of dishonesty, we were just pointing out, Owen tweeted this article out. Nancy Pelosi actually said we have to read the bill before we pass it.
Darling, it's too bad you got
That's
booed.
right, the exact opposite of what she said. We got to pass it to find out what's in it.
No, they were booing Obamacare. Watch. A couple of them will actually do it, almost guaranteed. But when we call them out, it makes it harder for them to do it. So we'll see. It's the fake media. We want Americans to be able to purchase the health insurance plans they want, not the plans forced on them by our government. The House has put forward a plan to repeal and replace Obamacare based on the principles I outlined in my joint address. But let me tell you, we're going to arbitrate. We're going to all get together. We're going to get something done. Remember this. If we didn't do it the way we're doing it, we need 60 votes. So we'd have to get the Democrats involved. they won't vote no matter what we do. They're not going to vote. So we're doing it a different way, a complex way. It's fine. The end result is when you have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And then we get on to tax reductions, which I like.
Come on, bring them. We know how much tax you paid in 2005, man.
Thanks, Maddow.
Does so much for you. It gives the states Medicaid flexibility, and some of the states will take over their health care.
See, at least Right Side Broadcasting Network will pan and show you the size of the crowd rather than just give you the fake news from CNN.
It gives great flexibility.
I wonder if CNN is even covering this, because they can't let Donald Trump speak in full sentences. He just crushes their narratives.
Thank you.
Guys, I got a tweet. Over 40K.
It repeals hundreds of billions of dollars
40,000
in Obamacare taxes. It provides tax credits to people to purchase the care that is rightfully theirs. The bill that I will ultimately sign, and that will be a bill where everybody's going to get into the room and we're going to get it done. We'll get rid of Obamacare and make health care better for you and for your family.
You can comment on that later, too, on how they deal with getting people in these things.
And once this is done,
and that's pretty, I don't know about that 40,000.
We are going to try and put it in phase 3.
50 billion.
I'm going to work on bringing down the cost of medicine by having a fair and competitive bidding process.
Capitalism, baby. You want to live in a communist country? There's plenty of options for you.
Take your pick.
You won't find any health care, but there's a country for you.
And we're going to carry it out and have been carrying it out in the full light of day, unlike the way Obamacare was passed.
Got to read the bill.
Oh. Wait, there isn't a...
What's in it?
Wait, you mean there's not a GIF of Obama signing executive orders and showing the public? That GIF doesn't exist? Oh.
I gave you free health care. You just got to pay for it a lot more than you were paying for it. See how they do that?
What we cannot do is to be intimidated by the dishonest attacks from Democratic leaders in Congress who broke the system in the first place and who don't believe you should be able to make your own health care decisions. I am very confident that if we empower the American people, we will accomplish incredible things for our country, not just on health care, but all across our government. We will unlock new frontiers in science and in medicine. We will give our children the right to attend the school of their choice, one where they will be taught to love this country and its values.
Not just figure out how to cheat on your test by memorizing the answers.
Millions of new jobs by lowering taxes on our businesses.
You wonder why these kids have no critical thinking skills.
We're going to lower taxes. Big. And we will fight for the right of every American child to grow up in a safe neighborhood, attend a great school, and to graduate with access to a high-paying job that they love doing.
Oh, that's why Snoop Dogg and Bow Wow don't like him. They want everyone to be indoctrinated into the gang culture. Got you.
Yeah.
No matter
those kids in Baltimore and the inner cities there in Detroit, they don't want jobs.
We all salute the same
My job's cussing into a microphone.
And we all
They think it's cool that Bow Wow wants to pimp out the first lady.
God.
That's how they make their money. Ridiculous.
I love how the USA things have become like a rallying cry for the right. The left can't go chant USA at an event anymore because it's ours.
Our glorious,
so we took the country back.
They just have to burn the flags so they can.
Anything we can dream for our country, we can achieve for our country. All we have to do is tap into that American pride that is swelling our hearts and stirring our souls, and we found that out very recently in our last election. A lot of pride. We are all Americans, and the future truly belongs to us. The future belongs to all of you. This is your moment. This is your time. This is the hour when history is made. All we have to do is put our own citizens first, and together we will make America strong again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. God bless you, everybody.
Well, there goes Donald Trump on March 15th, 2017 in the great city of Nashville, Tennessee. A great crowd. You can see that the upper decks are now filled with people. Before they weren't. They were having trouble. This is my prediction. You said you want to talk about this, Owen. Most of these giant sports arenas or any type of theatrical complex is run by a union. There's a stagehands union, and whether they're not in charge of security per se, but they might be in charge of opening which entrances and exits are going to be used. So they might, we can only use 2 entrances today. These other ones they're not being worked on. And I've seen unions do stuff like this. I've seen them make weird requests, like you can only work if you're setting up a show and you go past 4 hours, everybody has to take a break.
Are you suggesting that unions could be politicized?
Exactly. And because I worked at one in college, and we would literally have to sit and go get something to drink and sit down for 10 minutes when you had maybe 20 more minutes worth of work. But that was mandated, and you had to follow those rules. And there were people in there who manipulated that system. So I could see people like that manipulating the system, saying, oh, we can only have certain entrances or certain exits set up. And that created a bottleneck for the security.
Well, you know, when I look at this, Rob, one of the things I took away from it was you could clearly see that Donald Trump was enjoying himself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I think he has to do this for his own sanity. I mean, he's not a creature of Washington, D.C. He's not gone native by any means. They've been so hostile to him that he has to get out of that place into the real world, into America, away from Washington. And I think you could clearly see that. You know, he talked about, you know, how he didn't like being with all these politicians in Washington and everything. But you could really see his voice. He liked to interact with the crowd, to reestablish himself with the crowd, and just to get out of Washington. I can certainly understand that. I can't stand that place myself whenever I'm there. I can't get away quickly enough. And I think he has to get out of there for his own sanity. And that's a healthy thing. And I hope that as he went to Andrew Jackson's grave and his home there in Nashville on the 250th anniversary of his birth, as we're saying during this event, what he needs to take away from that is 2 things. Today, we had the Federal Reserve give themselves nearly unanimously vote themselves a raise, a 1/4% hike in the interest rate. And that's going to be coming out of the value of your home, whether you have a adjustable rate mortgage or not. It's going to be more expensive for somebody else to refinance that because rates are going to go up. Your variable rate mortgages are going to go up. Your car loans are going to go up. Your credit card expenses are going to go up. It was Andrew Jackson who shut down the central bank. And the other part of this that he needs to understand, and why are they doing this? Why are they shutting this down? Well, they say, well, our economy is too optimistic. It's too overheated. So they've already raised now. In 3 months, they've raised interest rates twice. We have to be very concerned about this. And Donald Trump needs to use the tool of an audit of the Fed. He needs to start with that, come after them with that. But he's going to have to fight the Federal Reserve. He's also going to have to fight the judiciary, just as Andrew Jackson did. Andrew Jackson, and it was over an issue that I disagreed with Andrew Jackson on. That was the movement of the Cherokees. And I think he was wrong on the issue, but he was right on how he did this. They took it all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court made their ruling. And he said, well, the judge has made his ruling. Let's see him enforce it. He understood there was a separation of powers. And Donald Trump needs to understand that. He read the statute that is in the law there that clearly gives him the authority to do what he has done with these 2 border rules. And just from a standpoint of the fact that we have Barack Obama did essentially the same thing, but he's also at war with these very countries. So if they're not dangerous, why are we at war with them? If we are at war with them because they're dangerous, then we ought to be able to vet the people who are coming in very, very carefully. And so he's within his rights. It makes absolute sense to do this, but he also is within his legal rights. And they need to go in to this Ninth Circuit Court and say, you have no jurisdiction in this. Here's a clear statute. We have a separation of powers. You've made your ruling. Let's see you enforce it.
Yeah, exactly. What army does the Ninth Circuit judge
They don't have
command?
the ability to enforce it.
They don't.
And that was
they
what
have bailiffs,
Alexander,
that's it.
everybody loves Hamilton, right? Alexander Hamilton said the judiciary is the least threatening of all the different branches because they have no ability to enforce their rulings. And that's what he needs to do. We need to reestablish the separation of power. We have a judicial tyranny with politically elected judges who are there for life. We should not be going to them as supplicants for our constitutional rights or for the powers of the president.
And there's a Daily Caller story actually out that the Ninth Circuit, I don't have it up now, but the Ninth Circuit is one of the most overruled courts, which Donald Trump pointed out. So
he even called him the Ninth Circus at one point because everybody calls him the Ninth Circus.
Of all the things he said, I believe the most dishonest people in the world, and he pointed back there to the
mainstream media.
To the mainstream media. Now, I want to talk a little bit about drugs.
Yeah.
Because he mentioned that, oh, hey, we're going to build this wall and it's going to stop drugs, which, one, I don't believe that's going to work.
No, it isn't.
They're too good at building
There's no way to
tunnels.
stop the drug flow into this country unless you take drastic measures in legalizing drugs. That's really the only way to stop it. That's the only way to stop it and then tax it. And then you're controlling the free flow of it, and you're letting people make their own decisions.
Rob, what you said is not even a conjecture. It's not even a projection. We've already seen it. We've seen
it work.
How the Mexican drug cartels are hurting from all of these Western states who have legalized marijuana. It has taken a huge chunk out of their hide.
Yeah.
And that happened before Donald Trump became president. That happened without a wall being in place. That is very key. And when Donald Trump, it was back in the 1990s, and I saw this when he was running. I've got to go back and get this interview. But he had an interview that was referenced. It was an interview that I think he had with Playboy magazine. And I think it was in 92 or 94. And in that, he said, if you want to stop the crime, you have to legalize it and control it. He said that 20 years ago. And he was exactly right then. He knows that. And he needs to go back to those instincts. We have tried interdiction and force for 43 years.
It doesn't work, but it fills up private jails, fills up federally run jails, state-run jails. But what the bigger problem is, if you want to look at the drug problem, it's not weed, it's not cocaine. Heroin's getting pretty bad. It's prescription drugs.
Yes.
Here's an article in the New York Post. American workers hit 10-year high for drug use. And when they talk about that, it's more than 70% of U.S. employers are dealing with the direct impact of prescription drug misuse in their workplaces. 70%.
Rob, the CDC's own numbers admit that more people die from pharmaceutical drugs every year than heroin and cocaine and marijuana combined.
Exactly.
Right. And the DEA is shipping in the legal heroin, cocaine, and these other things that they need to make the pharmaceutical
from Afghanistan.
that they're also growing in Mexico.
Well, and here's another statistic. They had the positivity rate they show for 9.5 million urine drug tests in the United States. Only 4% of them tested positive for pot or cocaine or methamphetamine, or amphetamine. So,
yeah,
not a lot of people are doing these types of drugs. More people are doing prescription drugs.
We need to understand.
And who's that run by? Well, we know.
Yeah, we need to understand that this is not a law enforcement issue. This is a medical issue. It is a psychological issue. It is a spiritual issue. And, you know, it's like saying if the only tool that you've got is a hammer, then you start banging on everything. And that doesn't work. It breaks stuff. And what it breaks is our system of law. And a good example of this is when I was on vacation, Drudge had a story up, and it was called Miami Vice. And it was about a cop who was a rogue cop, and he was pulling people over and robbing them at gunpoint. Okay, this is a guy who'd been a rookie for far less than a year. Well, they arrested him, but I tweeted out at the time, I said, if he had done this and turned the stuff over to his police department under civil asset forfeiture, he had been promoted, because that's what's happening on our streets all the time. Armed robbery by our police departments. This is a program that was created by Ronald Reagan. Civil asset forfeiture. It is not civil. What they're doing is they're lying. Every part of that is a lie. To say that we can take your property when you haven't even been charged with a crime, let alone convicted of a crime, and say that this is not a criminal penalty, but a civil penalty. The EPA works the same way. Other bureaucracies are working the same way. We need to shut this down. We need to recognize that the Sixth Amendment protections in the Constitution apply to anything that the government does. Excessive fines. You can't take our stuff without a trial. And I'm not, as somebody who doesn't use prescription drugs, I'm not concerned about being busted for even marijuana. I don't use drugs. I've never used drugs, but I'm concerned about the destruction of the Constitution. We had to have a constitutional amendment to have alcohol prohibition. That was an absolute failure. But at least we didn't fail to obey the Constitution. Now we don't even bother to do that. And now we're going around stealing people's property. And I was very sad to see Donald Trump in that meeting with the police union, police chief, say, well, we're going to put this person in Texas who tried to reestablish the Constitution with civil asset forfeiture reform, or to get rid of it, to say we're going to end their career. That is wrong. He needs to educate himself about that. The American people need to educate themselves about that. Many people are losing their homes, their cars.
It's one of those things that looks good on paper. Oh, we're going to go after the drug dealers and take their property. Yeah. But it's not the drug dealers. They go after everybody. They after a guy walking around with a crack rock and go, oh, we're going to take your car and your house.
These small police departments, they need the money, and the average thing that they steal is about $800 from people. They're not getting the big drug cartels. No. They're hurting American citizens, and they're destroying the rule of law. So all this stuff, we really need to get people to understand what is happening here. And we just cannot continue with this legal fiction that you can charge an inanimate object with a crime of being an accessory to a crime. You don't have to prove it. You can just steal that thing. And that is absolutely insane. Absolutely.
Guilty without the chance of being proved innocent.
Yeah.
Guilty without trial.
And those are the things when he brings up certain things that we disagree with, he makes it clear that he listens to we the people. So we definitely have to speak up when it's something that we disagree with, something like that.
And I think major. Sessions said it. He goes, I think we're going to let marijuana be in charge of the states, which I wish they would just take a national position on it. But I also like the fact that they're letting the states say, hey, we're going to let the states make their own laws, and then we're going to abide. We're not going to encroach on them, which is something Obama didn't do.
And then we can turn the opiate market over to the CIA.
Exactly. Well, if it isn't already.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, we're going to open up the phone lines real quick. Let me give out the number. 877-789-2539, 877-789-ALEX. That's 877-789-2539. I'd like to get your reactions from this Donald Trump speech in Nashville out there, people who are listening. Not sure how many are on YouTube or Facebook, but if you guys could throw the numbers in, that'd be great. We usually get a pretty good attentiveness ship, I guess we could call it, from people watching these. We did one today with Rachel Maddow reliving her big fail today with the tax return, showing that Donald Trump paid $38 million in taxes, and that had to be a big egg in the face. And she was bringing up stuff that was old. And then she trotted some guy up who's like, I got these documents. They've been out for a year. They were already talked about.
I love the way that the Boston Herald put this out, and this was off of the Drudge Report. They said, we've dodged 2 winter storms in a row. The first was named Stella. The second looked to be Rachel. And so they hyped this up, and then there was absolutely nothing. And to give you an idea of just how bad this was, and of course, Drudge put it up last night. He said, hey, he paid 25% in taxes. Comcast, which is the parent company of NBC, and that's all the different variants of that, CNBC. I guess we could call Rachel's channel Ms. NBC. But anyway, they paid 24%. Obama paid 19%. Bernie Sanders paid 13%. And, going back to October, we had Warren Buffett hammering Donald Trump. Release your tax returns. You tax cheat. You don't pay any taxes, blah, blah, blah. I pay 16%. Okay, well, now we see Donald Trump paying 25%. It was so bad they came out and said Donald Trump must have put these things out deliberately on us.
I know. He trolled us. How dare he give us the wrong tax returns? But it was the right tax returns. It was.
Except this is coming from the very guy who released the stuff. If he didn't think it was genuine, why would he make a big deal of it and go on the Rachel Maddow show and put it out there? It was only after he did that and he realized, oh, wait a minute. That's not a good.
He actually read the document. Wait.
And she's like reading it. She's like, well, it looks like he paid about $38 million in taxes, made We'll get to that
after
later.
After he realized it was an epic fail because everybody pointed it out to him, then he said, oh, he pwned us. And of course, her stallmate there at MSNBC, Joe Scarborough, has now got his own conspiracy saying that, Donald Trump team is behind the leak. Well, that's a conspiracy theory, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, they can tell us that it is, they can push, Donald Trump leaked his taxes and the Russians hacked our election and so forth. But if you say that the surveillance state is paying attention to a person of interest like Donald Trump, that can't possibly happen.
Got to have proof.
Can't possibly happen.
In fact, I'm going to bring up a tweet. I just saw this while we were watching from Cheryl Atkinson. She tweeted out, let's see, my info is that there was not a FISA warrant with my name on it during at least the part of the surveillance where they were looking at her. So they were looking at Cheryl Atkinson.
Exactly.
And
messing with her computer.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Deleting stuff as she was recording it.
Right. But her name wasn't on the FISA document. We had Dennis Kucinich say they played me a recording of my conversation. He heard a conversation of his recording.
That's the article that we have up at Infowars.com where they were talking about the fact that all Obama needed to do was to get that order to GCHQ there in the UK. They have 24/7 access to the NSA, so you wouldn't have any American fingerprints on that whatsoever. You don't need anybody's name on a search warrant. So,
well, we got phone calls that are coming in right now, but we've got, is Alex ready to go on a Facebook mentions, or is that coming up? Guys, I'm not sure. Okay, it's coming up in a little bit. Okay,
so is this the one he did? Michael Zimmerman went out and shot? Is that the one? Or is this different? Okay.
All right.
Guys,
yeah, he had a response to what was going on with Michael Savage in that incident in the restaurant that you covered earlier today that was being brought up by TMZ. So,
yeah, but we need to understand, as we got Lindsey Graham doing his wire tap dance through Congress, we need to understand we live in a wireless America. We live in a warrantless America, and you're not going to find a warrant. They would never be that stupid. I mean, they, as Ryan Paul said, they get a warrant with Mr. and Mrs. Verizon. And you know what? The FISA court is not a court. It is one judge. And you have these people go before this single judge, whether they're getting a search warrant or whether they think they are amending the Constitution in secret. That's another part of that court. They say that they can go, the government can send a lawyer to the FISA court. There's nobody arguing the side of the American people or the other side. Just one lawyer goes to this one judge, and in secret, they say they're amending the U.S. Constitution. How's that for a star chamber? That's what we have. And it's ironic that you've got, FISA was created by, in the aftermath of the Church and the Pike committee hearings, Church in the Senate, Pike in the House, back in the 1970s, looking at the abuses of the CIA. So they created the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act to try to control that, to make sure they didn't do this kind of stuff in America, because they were tapping phones of Americans in the 1970s. So they created this, and then they turned that around and they used FISA as a weapon to do precisely what they were trying to stop. That's the concern that we all have.
Exactly. Hey, guys, let me just see the callers first. I just want to tell them we're going to come to them after this Alex Jones video. If you could pull that down. Oh, okay. All right. Well, we're going to go to this video from Alex Jones talking about what went on with Michael Savage. We had him on the show yesterday, and then lo and behold, of course, because we have millions of listeners out there, somebody went out and attacked him. And I know that we have lots of people that listen to the show that don't like us, because I've seen videos from Vice come out in the last few days, Media Matters, just trying to make all these joke videos about us, SNL, talking about things that Alex has talked about that they wouldn't know unless they were watching the show. So there's definitely paid operatives watching the show, which is great. Hope you guys are getting woke. And we'll be right back after this quick Facebook mentions from Alex Jones recorded just earlier today. Remember, you are watching the live stream here at Infowars.com/show. Please spread that link to everyone that you know far and wide. Also, we have a 30% off Super Male Vitality right now. If you're not taking Super Male Vitality, you don't know what you're missing. So go to InfoWarsStore.com, check it out, and we'll be right back after this quick video from Alex Jones.
One of the top talk show hosts in the country and multiple #1 New York Times bestselling author, Michael Savage, who was on my radio show for an hour yesterday, throwing down the gauntlet of the fact that Obama and others have moved in down the road from the White House with George Soros money and are openly trying to cause a civil war in this country and calling for the president to be killed, threw the gauntlet down and said these people aren't going to stop, and Trump and the Attorney General need to move against him. Now, I'm not going to give any of the inside baseball away here, but here's the bottom line. There are all sorts of harassments and attacks going on against libertarians, constitutionalists, conservatives, just people that are common sense and are loyal to the United States of America. That's why you see such arrogance with Snoop Dogg in big Viacom videos, put out saying, kill the president, kill police with bullets. Some 45-year-old, Crip, wannabe punk, running around saying, kill cops, spraying with bullets. This is an attempt to destabilize the country. This is very, very serious. And local news went and talked to the witnesses and saw, I guess, the surveillance camera footage. And TMZ, look at this headline. Radio host Michael Savage involved in restaurant melee. Infowars.com has the full scoop right now. It's Michael Savage attacked by anti-Trump lunatics. And they say Savage is at his table. The guy runs over and screams at him for supporting Trump, assaults him, and then assaults, a guy that Savage has even written a book about how much he loves his poodle, then starts attacking the poodle until people go to fight that guy and he attacks them. And reportedly, other people then started attacking. So it was a setup, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't get into inside baseball here again, but I've had to get security. And I'm somebody that's protested the KKK. I'm somebody that's marched against, all sorts of dangerous groups. I've gone into militia standoffs, tried to get people to give themselves up. I mean, I've been involved in all of it, okay? But it's gotten so serious, not just with the operatives they've hired, but also with MSNBC, CNN, Saturday Night Live, the entertainment shows saying lies about me and my family, that then I've had to get security. I mean, just last Saturday, Saturday Night Live said that Alex Jones told the president that black people aren't human. Alec Baldwin played the part of the president and said, I learned from Alex Jones that black people aren't human and are bad. I mean, I've always been anti-racist. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the weaponization of the media and the violence they're trying to start as bullies as massive censorship ends. In the Trump administration, with the truth coming out about what's happened inside corrupt agencies, their censorship is just beginning to try to suppress us in the media. Gizmodo today, owned by Univision, calling for us to be shut off, praising Facebook, blocking us. All this crazy stuff is happening. They had an agenda planned, thinking Hillary would get in. They admit that. And they were going to come after free speech in this country and finally sew it up. But Trump and the American people rallied. Good people inside the intelligence agencies rallied. And again, I don't want to lionize the intelligence agencies. There's been a lot of corruption. They had bad leadership. They were given bad missions. But just today, Q and one of the former leaders of a major SEAL team, we can't mention, were on the show. And afterwards, they shot another video that's going to air tomorrow talking about how there's been a rebellion against this globalist takeover in the intelligence agencies that's taking place. But bottom line, to anybody that's loyal to this country, Google, Facebook, all of them have the algorithms, they have the databases, they have the info, where you eat, where you go, what you're doing. And our intel is they're giving that data out to basically criminal networks and others to engage in this stalking of the American people and other criminal activities. So this is just like the brown shirts in Nazi Germany would go out and intimidate people for 6-7 years before Hitler took full power. And communists do this, and in Islamic countries, they get in gangs and give intel to each other and do this. And so Q's been all over the world and dealt with this. This is very real. And that's why I've been having some of the former and current folks into the office to talk to them that have headed up some of the main counterterrorism groups in the country, because it's known that Trump can't call for support. He'll look weak. But the truth is he's completely surrounded. Dan Bongino, former head of the Secret Service on foreign missions, has come out this week and said it'd be easy for a 40-man team to attack the White House. It's not safe. President Trump shouldn't be there. This country is in a war. And now Michael Savage, a peaceful guy that just writes books and talks, has been assaulted hours after he was on my show. And that's because they are pissed. I know he's been threatened. I know he's been told, shut up. I know they tried to silence him on talk radio. I'll leave it at that. He's bucked it all. So this is a serious time to be alive. I'm going to spend a few more minutes here, but if we let ourselves be intimidated as leaders of the movement to restore the republic, while other nationalist movements take place all over the planet, from Brazil to the Netherlands to Greece to France to Japan, as humanity wakes up, it's more important that you, of every color, of every region, stand up more for humanity and free market liberty and private property and freedom of religion and the right to defend yourself. Q, real quick, coming in here. Of course, Q's not our only security person now. We don't want to get into the stuff that goes on, but the last straw is where I finally hired Q, were right after Trump won, I'd be at a restaurant and a liberal would walk up with a gun in their thing going, "See, I got to still carry two. Alex, you scared? You scared?" And they admit they're buying guns, you name it, because again they're authoritarians. They're not liberals. So I just want to warn everybody that's a stalwart like Michael Savage, who thinks you can just still live your life and do the same thing. I understand you're gutsy, you're out there. I'm the same way, but you've got to add security as much as you can if you have the money, which Michael Savage does, to absolutely make it hard for them to intimidate you or kill you or take you out, because this is a critical time right now for everybody to be vigilant and more politically active than ever. Like Michael Savage said right before Trump won, if Trump wins, the war has just begun. So Q, a few minutes, this isn't scripted. I called you over here. I don't know what you're going to say, but a few minutes on just where we are at in America. This is 1776 Part 2, and the Thomas Jeffersons, the Benjamin Franklins, the George Washingtons, the Thomas Paines, the Sam Adams of this movement, and all of you, the Paul Reveres, have got to watch each other six now more than ever.
And I've told you multiple times, Alex, that just because Trump won, it's not time to sit back and sit on our laurels and be, super complacent about what's going on.
You said if it was Trump won, I better watch my ass.
I told you from the get-go. If he wins, it's game on. And it's proven to be every single day. The liberals are calling for attacks. The liberals are calling for people to be murdered. All of these things they're calling for every single day. So if you don't take the time out of your life to pay a little bit more attention to what's going on, to find a way to defend yourself, to take care of your family and shit like that, you've been warned. It's plain and simple. You've been warned. They call for it every single day on every single media outlet out there. We watch videos on Facebook. You can see it on Google, on every mainstream media out there. There's calling for the killing of Trump. There's calling for attacking of peaceful protesters. You've seen it in
attacking
California.
Of his wife, attacking of his
Everyone.
sons.
You see all these people. So it's bottom line, the time is now. The fight has just begun. Yes, we got off our asses. We voted. Trump came in. It's time. That doesn't mean we win. We've only now begun
and let's be clear,
to start to fight.
Exactly. And look, we're winning the war. We're putting all our chips in here. We're not bitching like, oh my God, somebody attacked, the older Michael Savage and his dog out having dinner after he came on my show. There's no mistake about that. The stuff we've been dealing with what's been happening, the threats he's gone through if he doesn't shut up. He's been stalked. I shouldn't give a lot of this out, but I mean, some of these talked about. I can't tell you all of it, but
no. And the reality of it is if they'll attack someone that's famous in public, there is no one safe.
And that's the issue. When they've got new entertainers every day in Hollywood and all these major newspapers calling for the death of Trump, the death of his supporters, go beat up Trump supporters, women getting beat up at just trying to go in and hear somebody speak at a Trump rally. Okay, folks? These people mean business. So all I'm saying is mobilize, get ready. We're not going to strike first, but defensively be ready. And, San Francisco doesn't really let you defend yourself unless you had a licensed, security person with him who could have then obviously defended him. So listen, Savage, we know you're a tough guy, your family, you're great folks. The point is you don't need to sit there and watch your back. You need to spend I mean, Michael Savage, folks that don't know, has like 50-plus best-selling books. He launched the whole supplement movement in the 70s and 60s. He owns huge companies. I mean, he does radio just because he cares about the country. Michael Savage is a billionaire. Okay, his son's multi-billionaire, his wife billionaire. Michael Savage, I can call him right now on the phone. I just haven't done it yet. You need to get bodyguards, bro. And I get he's like, screw them. They want to kill me. Go ahead. We've had these private conversations.
Yeah, but
here's the thing. They're after him. They sabotage him. They threaten him. He's getting stalked. And he's pissed about it. But then I'm just saying, I told him a year ago, I said, get bodyguards. And I finally got the position where we're doing this because here's the deal. What we're doing is valuable. We're kicking the New World Order's ass. We're an asset. Infowars is going to do hundreds of billions of dollars of damage to the New World Order, okay? We're not going to stop. So that's the point, is we're making ourselves harder targets. Closing comments, Q. Infowars.com/show.
Again, like to Mr. Savage, it's not just about you. It's not just about being hard or not worried about being attacked. Think about your family. Think about the other people that you provide.
Yeah, the reports are he's an old man. He fought one guy, and another guy jumped in. He fought this guy. So then the guy attacked his dog.
Right. But even if that person attacks you and does whatever, think about the small price that it costs you to protect the people you love. That's the difference. That's the reason I tell people, take some type of self-defense. Use your legal right to defend yourself. Figure out a new way. Have a home security system. Take a situational awareness class.
People need to know that Michael Savage and everybody else aren't easy pickings. And if you come messing with me or my family, we're going to defend ourselves in the full extent of the law. And I'm not trying to act like tough guys. I see little wimps that are making comments and stuff. We've changed the world, folks. We're the ones out of our mom's basements. And we love our listeners, and we salute them for the work they've done. But now more than ever, you've got to be involved in the info war. They're trying to censor us and shut us up because we're kicking their ass politically. And these are all desperate moves.
That's a fact. We've got them on the run. We've got a little bit of momentum, but it's not time to take it easy or to go soft. It's absolutely time to push and push as hard as we can, take this momentum that we have, move forward, and do it the way it's supposed to be done. There's no reason to live in fear of some coward who lives in his basement or some rich rapper or something else. If you're such a hard
I just love how they talk about how they're
military.
I love how they talk about they're going to kill at people all day as if it isn't a two-way street, man. We're not threatening you. We don't do that.
By no means are we threatening anybody, but understand you're picking a war with the largest population of veterans in the United States history. We're the most armed citizenship in the history of our country. So is that really what you want? Sit back and think about it for a minute.
Yeah, they take our country and all of our freedom, and they take our weakness as kindness, and you think you can piss all over us all day long.
But here's the thing, Alex. It's not them. They're not smart enough to understand they're being played. Here's the real deal. Soros is trying to get you to do it. Because you know what? Burn down Ferguson. He doesn't give a shit. It ain't his place. Cost him nothing, a small drop, for him to say, here's some money, go tear something up. Creating instability, getting those people to step out and do something, doesn't hurt him at all. It only hurts you. When you're the fool.
Oh, yeah, Roger Stone got T-boned today. He's been getting death threatened.
I saw that.
They tried to kill him, and they already hit him with polonium. People, if I could just put the behind-the-scenes stuff. The point is there's a war going on, folks, and everybody needs to understand it. All right, I got to split. You got to split. A 30-second closing comment.
30 seconds. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Don't allow someone else in your personal space. Don't allow someone else to invoke on your right to be happy. Don't allow someone to come in and put pressure on you that makes your family uncomfortable. Stand up. Be a stand-up person. You know, defend yourself, defend the country, defend the president, and be ready to make a stand.
Absolutely. And listen, Michael, I get it. Up until about 6 months ago, I was not going to do this. But I just can't sit there and be macho. Truth is, I don't even worry about stuff. That's why I got people watching my back. I get it. We're kind of on the same cloth. It's just time. These scum aren't worth it. You deserve to sit down and have a meal and not have to put up with this crap. I'm Alex Jones. We've got a live feed coming up tonight. It's started right now, Infowars.com/show, with a whole bunch of coverage, and the nightly news is being expanded. We're about to expand all our broadcasts because of the face of the enemy and the censorship. Every time we get attacked, 2 more heads grow back. Infowars.com. Spread that link. The enemy hates it. And to Michael Savage, we salute your work for restoring this republic. Just like he had dinner with Trump last week at Mar-a-Lago, and he personally thanked him at dinner, called him over to have dinner with him and Melania, and thanked him for the victory, and his listeners for the victory, just like he's thanked me. That's what this is all about. We're kicking your ass. We're restoring the republic. We salute everybody.
Welcome back to our live coverage. And, of course, we went live because of the Trump rally in Nashville, Tennessee. Now, if you saw that rally and you'd like to call in and talk to us about that or about the Paul Ryan Obamacare replacement or anything else, feel free to call us. And that number, Rob, is?
There is so much news right now to discuss. And our callers always bring up excellent points because they're very well educated, very smart people, got their heads in the game. And that's
right.
what I like.
We're not going to limit it to any particular topic. So,
right.
Yeah.
877-789-2539. That's 877-789-2539. Looks like we have Adrian, Logan, and Bob will be our first 3 callers as we the caller boards are filled right now. So when you hear somebody hang up, that's your chance to call in. This is our smaller localized calling system, only allows for about 15 lines at once.
Guys, can I interject
Adrian.
Before we take a call? Never mind.
What's that? What do you have? Do you have something?
Yeah, Adrian. Good.
What's that,
Mac? We're making fun of your name, Adrian, but yeah. Did you want to say something, Leanne, before we go to Adrian?
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you guys had already opened. I was just going to point out, one of the things I'd love to talk about is the fact John McCain was going off the deep end today, and he called Rand Paul a Russian agent because Rand Paul disagreed with what John McCain, the bill he was trying to get Montenegro join
you know
NATO.
What? McCain is an ISIS agent. Let's just get that clear. There is far more proof. There's a lot of proof that John McCain is working with Al-Qaeda and ISIS. There is no proof that Donald Trump or Rand Paul are working with Russia.
He bragged about it. Hold on, David. There's not just proof, David. He admitted it himself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He bragged about it. He's like,
good people.
Whoa,
I met with those guys.
How dare you comment on ISIS? Do you meet with ISIS? I meet with them. I know ISIS. Yeah. I'm really tight with ISIS. Yeah. How dare you comment on ISIS?
It's true. Yeah. But if you disagree with him, you're a Russian agent.
I'm John McCain. I'm in touch with ISIS. You're a Russian agent.
And
He's
it's much worse.
A literal sack of crap right up there with George Soros.
McCain is part of the moderate branch of Al-Qaeda.
Yeah.
Let's go to our caller, Adrian in Houston. Adrian. Hello, Adrian. Yo, Adrian.
Hello.
Hey,
hello,
how you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm good.
Yes, you're live.
And that's fine. You can make fun of my name all you want.
I just couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Neither could I.
Yeah. What I want to talk before I talk about the thing about McCain. I think he said he was looking at a mirror when he said that about Paul.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Rand Paul.
Oh, I agree.
Anyways, yeah. And the thing I want to get topic into is that you've been talking about how Reince Priebus is almost circumventing President Trump with getting I can't remember his name from resigning. Like when
you talking about Michael Flynn?
Talking about General Flynn? Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like when Reagan was circumvented by Bush during his 8 years as president.
Yes. Yes, a lot of parallels can be drawn to that and also to Watergate, because I said before, it was the deputy director of the FBI that was actually deep throat, and he was releasing all the information through, guess who? The Washington Post. Who is releasing all the information that's being leaked by intelligence services? It's the Washington Post, who are connected through Jeff Bezos to the CIA. The CIA's got a $600 million contract with Amazon, and which is Jeff Bezos' other company. I mean, it's just... history rhymes, doesn't it?
That's not a conflict of interest at all.
No.
Not at all.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'll tell you this. This came out today at about 3 o'clock it's a Politico article. Trump floats the idea that Priebus may run a car company one day. At an event in Michigan celebrating the automotive manufacturing industry, Trump gestured towards Priebus and suggested that the chief of staff might someday run a car company, adding he's done a great job. So,
or maybe he'll just be an Uber driver.
Yeah, there you go. That's sort of a car company.
I don't think he'll be driving. He'll be wireless.
There you go. Did you want to say anything about the Trump speech, Adrian?
Yeah, I actually liked that he brought up. My favorite part was him making fun of the media, or the fake news media.
Mm-hmm.
Most dishonest people in the world.
Yep.
I think he missed his chance to go after Maddow, though. Come on.
Yeah, he did.
You know what? She probably would have gotten off to that. So you know what? I'm actually glad he didn't mention her.
Yeah, he didn't give her any more
Everybody else was talking about it. That's the thing. Everybody else brought it up. He didn't need to bring it up, and I think it was great. And maybe he did plant that story. A lot of people are saying that, but those documents were out already a year. So whoever gave that to her and sold that to her as a bill of goods.
If he planted the story, it just underscores how stupid they are and what losers they are, that they would run with it and not even realize until the day after that, wait a minute, this makes him look good. So it's...
You paid how much? Oh, $38 million. I thought that was $38. Yeah.
Thanks, Adrian. Let's go to Logan in South Dakota, who's also been holding for a while. Logan.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
You're live. Go ahead.
Okay. I am 18 years old, and I voted for my first time in this election for Donald Trump.
Good.
And my question is, what can the average person do that to help make a difference other than just staying informed through Infowars?
Well, that's a good question. I think you can make your own videos wherever you're at. You're in South Dakota. So
start a business.
Yeah, start a business, employ people. Look out for what's going on in your community and inform others about what's going on in your community, because sometimes people are so busy in their lives. You're 18 years old, so I would say you have a little more time than somebody who's got 3 or 4 kids and working a full-time job and married and all that. So are you married? You have kids?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So you probably have a little bit more free time on your hands. And I would say use that free time to educate others and whatever, start a Second Amendment club, bring people out and go shooting.
And I would say just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to speak your mind. Even though it may seem like there's a lot of people around you that are going to hate you for your opinion, or you think they're going to look down on you because you're conservative or a Trump supporter or whatever. You know what? Fine. You're 18 years old. You probably don't need them in your life anyway. You got plenty of time to make real friends. And what you'll see is people will gravitate towards you. You'll meet like-minded people, and you'll actually end up being an inspiration to others. So just don't be afraid to share your thoughts and opinion, despite all the bullying that's going on in the left.
And don't think that your videos or your articles or anything have to be perfect before you put them out. I think a lot of people are so afraid that they don't have the production value or whatever, the know-how. No, that does not matter at all. You just got to get out there and make a difference, and it definitely starts within your local community, because that's where you have the most access to what's going on, and you can make the most impact.
I would echo that. Act locally. We've heard the globalists say for the longest time, think globally, act locally. And that's what we can't do. That's what the national media can't do. We can't focus on all of the individual things that are happening in your community, your eyes on the ground. So if you see something's happening in your community, you can bring that to national attention, or at least to the attention of the people in your community. Focus on things that are local and focus on liberty. Don't ever let anybody sell you the bill of goods that you can trade your liberty for security. You'll never get it. You'll just become a slave. So put liberty first, and then focus on what's happening in your community locally. Report on that. Educate people there about that, and maybe even act on that. You know, exercise your liberty in that area. So do it locally.
Now, Logan, you thought there was no more homework once you got out of high school. We just gave you a ton of homework there. So we expect you to definitely do something, and, you know, keep us appraised of your activities, of course. We love hearing from the young people out there who are really trying to make a difference. We saw a young man in D.C. who had visited us on some of these live shoots through Skype, John Christopher Collins, and just seeing him out there with his whole family. And I talked to his mom at one point, and I said, does John Christopher run the conversations at your dinner table? And she goes, oh, yeah, he does. And she goes, and we love him for it. And here's a man who's not, he's in a wheelchair, but he's not letting that stop him for what he wants to do. And he's out there making videos. He doesn't have the greatest viewing numbers in the world, but he's out there doing it. And someday he's going to run, because his mind is open and in the right spot, he's going to see something one day that is going to be national news. He is going to put himself out there in that system because his mind is awake. And so you have to wake yourself up and wake up others.
Right. And that's exactly, you make a great point there, because it was just an average person who was out there with his cell phone, who just so happened to be there at that moment when Hillary Clinton collapsed at the 9/11 memorial.
It was actually a Hillary
Clinton supporter. Press was not there.
It was just an average white male that was there when Age Skrillex started screaming at him.
Exactly.
You know? So I don't know.
He just got out there and were in these people's faces, challenging their point of view, and that's it. I mean, they have planned so many of these rallies, at least until 2018, that they're planning. So our side, our team needs to make sure we have
ACLU announced
showing up to get out there.
The ACLU announced 4 years. They're not stopping. 4 years. That's their agenda.
4 years. So you need to make sure that you show up at those rallies as well, and then you send in the postcards, and then you say thank you guys or that you call your elected representatives, or you show up to city council.
Yeah, that's very true.
Spread the link to this show. It's a free link, Infowars.com/show. Spread that link far and wide. Thanks for calling, Logan. Hope to hear from you in the future. Let's go to Bob in San Francisco. Wants to talk about the Anderson Dam and illegal aliens. Go ahead, Bob.
Hello.
Hey, Bob. You're live.
Great. I just want to thank you all for having this forum here to reach out to some viewers here that I'm actually a pretty new viewer, but an old soul in terms of your views. I'm living in the middle of Silicon Valley with Governor Moonbeam, and we've got a dam that's about ready to collapse when the snow melt goes. We've got illegal aliens taking jobs that they say that they're not taking. I'm a local contractor here in the Bay Area, and it's pretty hard to compete when you got a person that will work for nothing. And, basically, I'm glad that Donald Trump is president, but Alex Jones was stating that we've got a whole lot more to do in terms of now that we're all, involved in our local governments. It's a pretty exciting time to be an American, but we are in a war, and I do agree with that.
Yeah, we definitely are in an information war, and if you see us make a joke or kind of make light of something, it's because, probably gallows humor, because we're looking at a lot of bad news out there, but also I see a lot of good news. I see the fact that this news is getting out there and we don't have to go, hey guys, the NSA is spying on you. Hey guys, the CIA is spying on you through your TV or through your smartphone. Now that's common knowledge. And that wasn't common knowledge 5 years ago.
Even though you had Stephen Colbert working with Michael Hayden and trying to pour cold water on this idea that they're using appliances and the Internet of Things to spy on people, their smart homes and all that kind of stuff. You had an article that came out at the same time on Realtor.com talking about how your smart home is spying on you. Here's what you can do about it. I mean, that is not a center of high-tech information. They're not a political center. It's an established fact. They can't hide from what's been revealed with the Snowden docs, what's been revealed by the Vault 7 docs. We understand that this is happening, and no matter how much they try to do this, they continue to lose credibility. That's why they have to turn to comedians to do this, because everybody is laughing at their serious news. So they think that people are laughing along with them. No, we're still laughing at you, Stephen Colbert, for being so ignorant and dense and thinking that we're stupid and we don't understand what's going on.
And I found this quick search. Quake fears force massive water release from Anderson Dam. So that's another thing. In California, you have these quake lines going on with the San Andreas Fault and other fault lines. Let me go back to the, there's the headline of it. But this also pertains to nuclear reactors, too, that are in California, some of which are right on fault lines. I think there's one.
Yeah, isn't there one called the Diablo or something?
The Diablo. Yeah. And the fault line is right offshore, just less than a quarter of a mile from the actual power plant.
Well, you know, Bob, as you were talking about, I'm sorry, Bob in San Francisco is talking about how he's trying to compete with people who have an unfair cost advantage because they're willing to work at a lower wage base. They're willing to work without paying Social Security wages and other things like that. That makes it cheaper for the people who employ them. It gives them a wage advantage over American workers. And yet you have Governor Brown there in California who couldn't care less about that. And instead, he is focused on helping those people while the infrastructure is crumbling. That's an amazing contrast, and you hit the nail on the head when you brought those two issues up.
Yeah, you know, it's really it's funny because you've got, you know, the illegal immigration basically with the sanctuary cities and all the governors stating that they're not, you know, going to enforce the federal laws. It's so frustrating. You know, they'll have a march. They'll show up at the city council. They'll, you know, half of them are illegal. I mean,
yes.
They can't even speak English, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah,
but yet they're wanting to, you know, make local law here in our cities. It's just really frustrating because I want everybody to have their fair shake at the American dream, but I want it to be fair and legal, and I want it to be right.
Americans have dreams as well. And these sanctuary cities, they want to put the dreams of people who want to come here, governments who want to send their citizens here, like the Mexican government with its 50-plus consulates and embassies throughout the United States, saying that they're going to help Mexican citizens avoid deportation and violate our laws. They're foreign citizens who are here criminally trespassing and getting free education because their government doesn't want to pay for it. That needs to stop. We need to put the interests of American citizens first, and Mexico needs to take care of their citizens, and Guatemala take care of their citizens. And I think it's very important. I think if we look at these sanctuary cities, one of the things that we have right now is a great opportunity for Donald Trump and the federal government to wean these welfare people at the sanctuary cities off of the federal tip. Okay, what they need to do is say, we're going to cut your services, and you guys can start supporting yourself if you don't want to be a part of the American system here, and you don't want to follow our laws. We'll just cut off the money to you. That's one of the places where he could save a lot of money, and he needs to start doing it right now because typically it's these sanctuary cities that have the biggest welfare programs, like in California, New York, other places, Democrat areas.
And speaking of sanctuary cities, in Austin, we had our own sheriff, I believe her name is Sally Hernandez. She was mandating that we release criminals unless they are murderers or armed robbers.
She had 3 crimes that she would.
What was the third one? What was the third one?
I can't remember, but one of the crimes that came up was child molesting. You had this guy who was a serial child molester. And she said, I forgot about that one.
And they caught him and had one guy in jail, and they're like, we're not going to hold him for ICE. He paid bail. We're going to let him go. A child molester.
Right. What if somebody is a serial drunk driver that has injured people and is likely to kill somebody? She's not going to turn them over to ICE for deportation. They can be, these foreign citizens can continue to criminally trespass here in America and we have people like Hernandez that's not going to send them over.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I just recently got it in. I live on a busy street, and a drunk driver hit my vehicle and was in my easement in my driveway at about 2 o'clock in the morning. I go out there, and the guy's drunk. He's in the driveway. My van's all tore up, and I overhear the police saying, "Yeah, he's an illegal. He doesn't understand. He doesn't speak English. He doesn't have a license."
They don't understand our laws, so they don't have to obey them.
Yeah, so you have
they
to
don't have
suffer.
these things called translators, but you know.
You privileged American, you better suffer, you.
In my family, we've had 2 incidents. One of them happened to me. One of them happened to my son. Rear-ended by people who don't even speak English, who are dead drunk like that. And the police come up and say, it's exactly the same thing. Give them a special pass because they're here criminally trespassing in our country from another country.
But they know from the higher up that they're limited to what they're going to be able to do, so they stop way early on doing it.
Well, that's a lot of paperwork.
They're not proactive.
Exactly. It's not necessarily at the grassroots level. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Bob, thanks for calling. That was a great call. Let's go to Brian in Jacksonville, Florida. I want to get through all these calls before the 9 o'clock hour when we're going to say goodbye. But we will be back Monday, probably same time, 6 p.m. There's another rally in Louisville, Kentucky. So Donald Trump is hitting, I would say, like Appalachia. That's kind of where the Smoky Mountains are through Nashville, and Louisville, Kentucky's up near that and all.
Yeah.
So he'll be there on Monday, and we'll be doing another live presentation just like this. So if you don't get to call in tonight, then definitely check us out on Monday, and be sure to spread that link at Infowars.com/show. Let's go to
Supreme Court, and they've gotten away with a lot that isn't necessarily constitutional.
Absolutely. He said tyranny of the judiciary in terms of Marbury versus Madison, where they gave themselves the power.
A little closer after that. I believe if Trump were to say, okay, we're going to launch impeachment against these crazy Ninth Court Circuit Court justices. But as far as the drugs go, you know, if you look at Portugal, when they legalized, their usage has gone down. Their prisons are half empty. There's less crime committed. There's just less turmoil, period. It was radical, everyone thought at the time, but it's 10 years on, and, you know, it's going great over there. I have friends that live there, and it's like, you know, it's not nearly as oppressive as it is even in America.
less resources being devoted to grabbing people and holding people against their will.
That's right.
I mean, just that basic act of grabbing somebody and holding them against their will takes a lot of manpower and a lot of money. It's not cheap.
Look at alcohol prohibition. What did that do? That created Al Capone and organized crime, but it didn't stop alcohol consumption. And when you look at the way that we've approached cigarette smoking, what did they do? They didn't create prohibition for cigarette smoking. Instead, they tried to create an educational campaign. That's been very effective in terms of cutting down cigarette use. And so it's not the hammer of law enforcement that works. And I've interviewed many times law enforcement against prohibition, Jim Gierach and others who are with it, former prosecutors, former law enforcement officers who have worked on this firsthand. They understand that drug addiction is a problem. Any kind of addiction is a problem, but they understand that this approach does not solve that problem. Instead, you continue to have that problem, and then you create a rash of other problems that don't have to exist in addition to your drug addiction problem. I absolutely agree with you.
All right, well, you guys have a nice evening. I'll let everybody else that's in line get a chance to talk, and you keep up the great work.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks a lot, Brian. We go now to Joe Hemp in Southern California. So go ahead, Joe.
Hey, smoke one every day. You know, I think if a guy like me with a bad hip who can't sleep at night can use cannabis to help him sleep and not wake his wife up every time he just chill out, dude. Okay, go after the meth dealers. Put those guys in prison. They're hurting people. Okay, deschedule cannabis. I think if Trump would just tell citizens, let everybody grow it like freaking rose bushes in their backyard. You know what would happen? All the protests would stop overnight. People would come out of the woodwork going, "Oh my God, Trump, you're so awesome. We love you, dude." Okay,
yeah,
That's actually a great.
Why have I been so angry?
Yeah, you know that a lot. I mean, I guess I don't know this. I guess I'm assuming that most of these people that are going out there protesting, I mean, most of them are college-age kids. They're probably drug users of some shape or form, most likely marijuana.
Yeah, but cannabis isn't a drug. It's a new.
No, I'm just okay. No, I understand. Okay, a plant. All right, so they're plant users. They use herbs. But my point is, so now you've got all of these herb users, these plant users that are going to be sitting at home smoking their legal weed now because Trump made it legal. And then you've got, first of all, I think this guy thinks I'm on the other side of it. I'm actually agreeing with you. And also, all Trump really needs to see, in my opinion, is the jobs growth. Look at the economy in California. Look at what the medical marijuana and decriminalization of marijuana, well, really just the medical marijuana industry has done in Colorado, and legalizing it has done in Colorado. That's all you need to see. And Trump will be like, wow, look at these jobs. Look at how it's booming the economy. This is a great move. And then I think the side effect will be what the caller just said.
Yeah, let people deduct business expenses.
Oh yeah, totally.
Hey, then they might maybe they might have to learn how to garden too.
Yeah,
It's
that's the issue. Is Big Pharma needs to control it.
And
here's the
thing.
You know what? If people grew their own, there would be no harms, because a lot of people who grow for medical dispensaries are putting pesticides on there that might be safe for edible food, but nobody has the data on what happens with these so-called safe pesticides when you burn them. And that's why people need to be able to grow their own medicine so they know what's in it.
Clean green, buddy. Clean green.
If they can tell you, if we have to go to them for permission to grow our own food or to grow hemp or whatever, then we are slaves. And we do not have a system where everything is prohibited unless expressly permitted by the government. The 9th and 10th Amendment make it very clear. It's just the opposite. Everything is permitted unless it is expressly prohibited, and they don't have the power to prohibit any of these substances that they're prohibiting. If they want to give themselves the power, let's have that discussion. But they just do it instead of passing a constitutional amendment like they did with alcohol. That's the problem that I have with it. If we want to celebrate law enforcement, then let's enforce the Constitution, first of all.
Yeah, well, and I hate the arguments always that. Sorry, I hate the argument as always that you can't tell if people are going to be going to work and being crazy, but meanwhile you can go to work on all of your pharmaceutical drugs and no one's going to test you or be worried about it. And
yeah, you can drive your car.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was so angry and upset when I was going through college at UT, the amount of students there who use Adderall. And it's like it gives them an edge when they're taking tests and when they're studying. But then there's kids like me who don't. And then for whatever reason, the teacher just thinks these kids are so bright. Well, you know what? Heck, maybe I should have broke into my parents' medicine cabinet. I mean, it's madness to me. The amount of kids that are just like going in their parents' medicine cabinet, abusing drugs.
Here, wait a second. A multi-million-dollar industry made this pill. Take it. No. Take this multi-billion-dollar industry pill and don't take that thing that grows out of the ground. That's going to hurt you. It's bad.
Yeah, the plant is bad. This pill that is going to wreck your brain and actually change the chemistry in your brain, that's okay to give to your child.
Well, and it's like what we just said. 70% of businesses, large businesses, said they have prescription drug problems in their workplace.
Remember during the campaign, we had Chris Christie tell that, and it was a heart-wrenching story about a friend that he went through law school with that was very successful. His life was destroyed when he got on painkillers for a back injury. He lost everything and eventually committed suicide. But that was not an argument for prohibiting marijuana. No, it had nothing to do with marijuana. It had to do with prescription drugs, and it was a completely different thing. But they still need to have a constitutional amendment to prohibit anything. The 9th and 10th Amendment make that very clear.
It's a weed. It should grow everywhere. Yes. God didn't make a mistake. Thanks for calling, Joe. Let's go to our next caller. This is Toby. Wants to talk about does that say dogs? Dogs threatening?
Yeah, Snoop Dogg.
Oh, Snoop Dogg.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought Savage's poodle.
I don't like to call him Snoop Dogg, though. You know, we call him Group Hog or Group Fog because all the people around him, you know, are in this belligerent fog with him.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, well, you know, these people, man, they just they lay down and pretend that these people are God. But let me get back to what I really wanted to talk about. First of all, I'd like to send out prayers, love, and God's guidance to Roger Stone, Michael Savage, and their families. Can't even begin to imagine how them people are suffering. What a cost, freedom. What a cost. So many problems, guys. Where do we start? I'll make this short. I just want to tell poor Group Fog and How Now Brown Cow, they need to stop and grow the hell up and accept responsibility for the position that God has allowed them to fill. they're supposed to be spokesmen for the younger generation and guide them. I don't get off on what they're doing to our younger people.
Right. They're destroying their minds, basically setting them up for the prison industrial complex.
I don't think they see themselves as role models. I think they just see themselves as fashion models.
Or to make it seem like it's cool to be a pimp, to pimp out women. Like, we're going to pimp out your wife and make money off of her. That's how we bring our income in, is to pimp out women. I mean, that is a major issue.
Yeah, where are the lefts that claim that women, where are all the feminists that are anti-Trump? Where are they on Shad's tweet? Thanks for that tweet, Shad. But you know what? Hold on a second. This actually is something that's still bothering me. I've been sitting here for 2 hours still ticked off about this. Let me explain something that I always forget about these people. Okay? You're going to notice this about Madonna. You're going to notice about every artist who comes out and makes a statement against Trump. Guess what they all have in common? They all have a new album releasing. Every single one of them. Madonna, Snoop Dogg, and Shad Bow Wow. Okay, so actually, I just learned this tonight. It turns out that Snoop Dogg actually knows Donald Trump, and they've actually had dinner together before, okay? So here's how this works, folks. Here's how the music industry works. The powers that be say, these are the songs that will be on the top 40, top 100 lists. These are the songs that will play on all of our corporate media radio stations all over the America, all over the world, whatever. So they say, oh, look, here's Little Bow Wow. You're coming out with a new album, Lil Bow Wow. Well, I don't think your album is going to make it. It's really not that good. Nobody's buying it. Nobody cares about you, Shad. So what can you do to create a little media buzz? So Shad says, well, I'm going to pimp out Ivanka Trump. Boom. All of a sudden, he gets loved by all the liberals in the music industry. His single will end up on the radio stations, and now all of a sudden he exists again. Same with Snoop Dogg. A single comes out, new album coming out. Nobody gives a damn about these washed up rappers. And so what do they have to do? They have to make statements against Trump to get on the radio and create publicity about themselves. Now look at the contrast. Joy Villa. She didn't come out and make a nasty statement about Hillary Clinton. She didn't come out and make a nasty statement about Nancy Pelosi. All she did was come out and say, make America great again, uplifting people, trying to bring people together.
Here's my Trump dress.
Guess whose album sales? Guess whose album sales spiked? Joy Villa's. Guess whose album sales flopped? Madonna, Bow Wow, and Snoop Poop Dog.
Yeah, and this is what's so ironic about it, is that they're going to be praised by the left. Meanwhile, it's the left who's always calling for gun control or respect of women, not talking about sexually assaulting women and seeing them only as sex objects. But now, for whatever reason, they're...
Oh my gosh, how tolerant... I mean, look, how tolerant is Donald Trump that Snoop Dogg is going to do a fake political assassination in a music video, and then Shad Bow Wow is going to say, we're going to pimp out your wife? How tolerant is Donald Trump? Let me tell you something. If I was the president...
Where are the feminists?
If I was the president and Snoop Dogg and Bow Wow did that to me, I'd have the FBI at their door, and I'd say, excuse me, fellas, we're going to bring you in for some questioning.
We're going to pimp you out in prison.
Yeah, we'll pimp you out to the FBI.
Oh, and you just uncovered a literal Mr. Moneybags operation. Live.
That's how it works.
At
I think we need to bring Mr. Moneybags back.
Yeah. No, that's literally exactly what is going on. People have a new television show coming out. What do? They copy Alex Jones. People have a new product coming out. Oh, we have to slam the Trumps to try to get business, because we know there's probably less than half of the population, but a very vocal amount that don't like the president. So we're going to figure out a way to create this. We'll get people to tweet it, a lot of social media savvy people.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then you create a bunch of book, essentially.
Does Snoop Dogg, I'm just curious, does Snoop Dogg, does Madonna, does Shad Bow Wow, do you really want a civil war? Like, do you really want a civil war?
Yeah.
If that's so, okay then, fine. Take the gloves off then, Shad. Go ahead. I dare you to try to pimp out Ivanka Trump. See what happens to you, smart ass.
Well,
excuse me. Family show.
All right, let's move on. Thanks for calling, Toby. And we're going to go to Jared in Indiana. Where to get reliable info on Trump's foreign policies? That's an interesting question. What particularly are you interested in his foreign policy?
Hello.
Hi. Go ahead. You're live on the air.
Hi. So, if I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty uninformed, and there's a lot of information about his foreign policy that may or may not be true. So I'm wondering, what would be the top 3 websites to find out what's the most reliable source of information?
I would say check out the Drudge Report. I just saw an article today.
Infowars.com.
And Infowars.com, definitely. Sorry, you're watching Infowars. I figure you already come here. Trump just said he wants to cut the budget to the UN in half, which I think is a big foreign policy decision and domestic policy decision.
That's about halfway there.
Exactly. He's about halfway there. It's a good start. That's what I call that, going after the UN. But he basically sent a message to the State Department. We want to cut their funding in half because we pay for most of the funding of the UN, and we get one vote, and we're routinely overruled by one of the other 5 nations that also.
That tells you a lot about his foreign policy there, Jared.
Yeah.
When he wants to cut that in half. But
a quick question.
Here's the other thing, too, though, and you asked about websites and stuff. Don't limit yourself to even one source. And I'm not even saying, to limit yourself to Infowars. We can stand in comparison, and I think we stand well in comparison to other sites. I would always go to multiple sites. I would go to sites that are saying completely polar opposite things. One of the things I would always avoid are people who say that they don't have an opinion, that they're strictly objective. Those people are either lying to you or they're lying to themselves or both. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got a point of view. We give you the news. We give you an analysis of the news. And so what you need to do is take a look at that and go to other sites where they're going to give you an analysis of the news. Avoid the people who tell you we don't have an opinion because they think you're stupid. And so, just go places where you're going to see contrasting ideas. You look at it, you decide. And, of course, we're going to just have to see what Donald Trump's foreign policy is. He's stated what it is. He stated that he's going to put America first, that he wants to see NATO pull its weight. But he's also, here's the key thing, Jared, that he's talking about, and that is he wants to have open bilateral relations between different countries. So we're going to negotiate directly with Britain, for example, rather than the European Union. And that's what the real struggle is that's going on right now. Whether or not people are going to have control of their own countries and then try to do deals with other countries one-on-one instead of creating some third party that then takes power over everyone in all of the countries that are underneath them. That's what we've seen from the globalists. That's what we don't want. We want to try to bring government back closer to us, and that's what Donald Trump has been trying to do. That's what's behind this UN move, and that's really what has been behind that's the fundamental approach that he's been taking, that we want to have control of our own destiny. And we want to work with other people who have control of their own destiny and not these multinational agreements, not these multinational institutions that are trying to take everybody's life away, take away our money, take away our decisions.
Right. Yeah. They're putting all the power in the UN to where they're saying it's going to supersede our own constitution, our own federal power here. You're absolutely right, David.
Yeah, go ahead, Jared. You were trying to say something?
Oh, I have a quick question. I'm sorry, I'm really bad with names. This is for the man with the beard and the yellow tie.
That's me, David. David Knight.
Are you Tim Allen from the Santa Claus movie?
No, actually, but I might. Maybe I could do that.
It's the Santa Claus.
There we go. Well, thanks for that insight.
We will check.
Go to the next
we will
caller.
look into that.
Okay.
Thanks, Jared. Yeah,
and there will be a lump of coal in your stocking this year. Okay?
Let's go to Jason in Florida. General comments, the radio show host who will flow with whatever? Is that what he's saying?
Yeah.
I can barely read it. Oh, look, you do. That is you.
I've got to work on it. I got to get a little bit fuller.
Like Santa Claus.
All right. Hey, go.
Not look like Santa Claus, David. Okay, I just want to put that out there. For the younger callers that I've noticed tonight, we've got a lot of younger callers. First of all, InfoWarrior since 1996.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's not even 12-year military career, 13 different countries, been there and done that. To the younger callers that are first-time listeners, first-time callers, first time being involved in InfoWars, maybe you're new to this. There's a lot of good information in the InfoWar. The thing you need to remember is to get involved. First of all, I got involved in my local community college after a 12-year military career and actually had CARE removed from the college. I proposed it to the college administration. The CARE is an organization funded by not only Iran, but also the Muslim Brotherhood, and it's not going to be responsible for teaching or talking or even having events in the school that I attend. That was first and foremost. And I meant that not in a...
Did you have a lot of support in doing that, or how did that fight go?
I was the one that caused it. I started that whole movement on removing CARE from the local organization schools here in Florida. The next move that you need to make is not only get involved in local politics, but be the one that stands up, that asks questions. Don't follow that same narrative. If they want to start screaming above you, call them racist. Come out and call them homophobes. Call them all these little buzzwords that they like to call you. And then when you set the argument straight,
then you can move forward with the real conversation. And the thing that you'll find is once you beat all these silly narratives down, the thing that you will find is that then you can have either A, an intelligent conversation, or B, you'll be faced with an individual that just walks away. And if more people start turning them away, very few will walk away. Some will actually listen, and you'll notice the change. To give you an idea, I have an entire family of non-voters. Not only did they have Trump voting this election season, my mother, for the first time in 70 years, showed up at 5 o'clock in the morning in the rally here in Ocala, Florida, and had breakfast with Donald Trump because he showed up that early, his staff, and pulled my mom in. My son, at 3 years old, got to say the Pledge of Allegiance for Donald Trump. This is the kind of movement that you want to have. This is what it's all about. This is Americanism. This is not globalism. Keep it up, guys, and very good work. Owen, I can't believe you sat there for 2 hours and didn't say nothing. I was waiting for you to come out and tell the truth about that. It was all, listen, they are feeding these young people garbage, okay? Straight trash. There is nothing educational in what they're saying. The liberal school teachers, my sister-in-law is a teacher, ridiculed for putting a Trump bumper sticker on. Ridiculed.
Oh, yeah.
Smiled that next day. Smiled.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, students reach out to me almost every day telling me the horror stories about not just the treatment that they receive in the school. And honestly, it's amazing that most of the people that reach out to me, you know, they tell me about the treatment they receive, but that's not what upsets them. What upsets them is the brainwashing in the school program. I mean, they're genuinely upset. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting picked on. Oh my gosh, people are taking my stuff. But they're like, but the real problem is the propaganda in the schools because they care about their fellow classmates.
Right.
Absolutely. And they're afraid to stand up to that teacher in their ENC 1101 class that wants to come at them with how great the left is. And all of a sudden she's talking politics. Be the student that stands up and says, you're teaching English. This is not a political science class. If you wish to direct a conversation in that direction, I will speak to the school administration about moving your agenda out of this classroom. And you'll notice how quick they stop right and dead in their tracks and go back to educating. There's a difference. There's teachers. These are the individuals that just grade papers. This is what the left has bred. Teachers. They just grade papers. They give their opinion. And then there are educators. These are the individuals that not only teach, but also give life experience to the young youth, the younger generations. This is what they go for guidance. We can't continue to allow left-leaning or even liberal in that aspect teachers. We need to get more conservative teachers. We need to make a movement within the education system to where it's guided to the principles of not only Americanism, but conservatism. So they see that these people aren't any different than anybody else. They're just like you. And the same fundamentals that put these kids in school, their parents working hard, saving for their education, providing them with the necessary tools and knowledge to move their self forward, giving that to them so they can then instill that in their children when that time comes.
Jason, you are caller of the night. I got to give it to you. That was well said. I'm glad you hung on to deliver that message to the young people and to other people who are sitting on the sideline unsure of what to do. If you're not getting involved in your country, and you might not live in the United States, you might live in Denmark with what's going on there with the elections, or in Sweden with the immigration problems that they're having there. You have to get involved and you have to speak out.
Absolutely, guys. Keep it up. Thank you very much. Much love, and God bless, and I hope everything goes good for Michael Savage. That's a disgusting, disgusting display.
Crazy.
Oh, that's terrible. And once again, Oliver Stone, God bless you, my friend. You just got to stay home for a minute because they're after you.
There you go. All right, let's go to
night,
Stephen in New Hampshire. Thanks for calling, Jason. That was a great call. Stephen in New Hampshire, go ahead, sir.
Hello, how's it going?
Doing great. You are live.
All right, well, first of all, I actually have a question that's directed at Mr. Knight. I have a lot of respect for the way he portrays himself, so I have just a simple question for him.
Sure, go ahead.
Basically, what I'm wondering is, what do you think about Trump's environmental stance? Now, I voted for Trump because I agree with numerous facets of his campaign, for example, the Second Amendment and his stance on abortion, as well as numerous other things that he promoted. But what do you think about all these pipelines, him hiring Rex Tillerson? Now, I know it's going to create jobs, but you look at China with all their factories, some people can't even breathe over there.
Well, my concern with Rex Tillerson is that he supports the whole idea that we got global warming that's man-made, and he did that with Exxon. So on the other hand, we've got Pruitt, who he's put in charge of the EPA. And here's my concern about it. If you're concerned about the environment, we need to at least get the EPA as a first step. We need to get them back to their original mission of working on clean air and clean water and have them do that within the context of following the law. What their mission has been in the name of climate change is to shut down entire industries. We can have clean burning coal plants, but they don't want that. Obama said he was going to bankrupt anybody that would build a coal plant, and then they went to move on that, and Hillary Clinton doubled down on it and said, we're going to put you out of business. As far as the pipelines are concerned, my issue with that, with an environmental standpoint, the people who are protesting that want to keep the oil in the ground. That's their position. They don't want any oil used. Now, I don't agree with that. As I just said, I think that we can do it cleanly, safely, and so I don't want to keep the oil in the ground. Now, the question then becomes, how are you going to safely transport that oil? Are you going to do it by rail car? Are you going to do it by truck? You're going to do it by ship? The safest way to transport that is by pipeline. Let me give you an example. The Exxon Valdez, which is not the worst spill that we've ever had, but it's the one that most people know about. That was 1,500 times the record spill of the worst pipeline accident that we've ever had. So that means that you could have the worst pipeline accident we've had every day for 5 years before you get to one Exxon Valdez. It is the safest way to transport the pipeline products. My concern with the Keystone Pipeline has been eminent domain, and that is a property rights issue. So apart from the environmental issue, I have concerns with the way that the Keystone Pipeline was done, where they handed to TransCanada, who's running the Keystone Pipeline, they gave them the right of eminent domain where they could go in and take farms of people who have been there for a century or more, let them go in and condemn that property to run the pipeline through. So I have an issue with that. What they were talking about with the Dakota Pipeline, that was over area that was not, they were not fighting for private property rights. As a matter of fact, the people who were protesting it, they had two agendas. Number one, they wanted to keep the oil products, the petroleum products in the ground. Secondly, they wanted to have the government control everything and take away private property rights. So it's a very different scenario going on between those two pipelines. So that's my personal take on it. You may agree with that. You may disagree with it.
I very much agree, and you helped clarify a lot of questions that I had right there. So I thank you a lot for that.
Thank you.
All right, Stephen, your phone line's getting a little creaky, but
I want to say something about that too. I know we're wrapping this up.
I'll let you do that, but David and I just spoke. Probably, I had never really thought of it in a couple of those terms that you brought out: the eminent domain, and then the way the Keystone people, they want the oil in the ground.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The Dakota Access Pipeline. Yeah. They don't want any fossil fuels, and I'm sorry, we don't have the capability yet. There's many reasons why, I'm sure, that we don't have cheap, clean energy. And right now we have fossil fuels. And if you want to get to a society that's going to have cheap, clean energy, you have to innovate. And the only way to innovate is to have cheap power. You don't see Venezuela coming up with lots of new inventions right now. They can barely put bread on the table. And it's because they don't have power. That's the bottom line. The reason the United States has so many inventions coming out of it is because we have cheap power. And it's because a guy can go home at night and instead of worrying about, well, can I run my refrigerator? Can I run my TV? He's out there tinkering in the garage trying to invent something new. That's where you see innovation. You don't see innovation coming out of giant corporations.
It's not only there, but it's not only the general health of the economy and innovation, but it's also, of course, your lifestyle and your life expectancy. If you want a low life expectancy, you'll see a high correlation with the people who do not have cheap, available energy. And so that is really the issue. And the other part of it is when we look at them picking the winners and the losers, look at what the Obama administration did in terms of subsidizing companies like Solyndra and others. There's a lot of crony capitalism that is at the root of all this, completely shutting down one industry without regard to their how clean it is or whatever, just saying we're going to shut down coal, but we're going to reward solar power over here on the other hand.
And we're going to buy dirty power from Mexico.
Exactly. That's what we don't want to see.
Dirty coal power plants in Mexico, we're going to buy their electricity and keep them in business and not let clean coal, which does exist, There's plenty of people that have proven it and talked about it. It works if you build it right and you run it right. Go ahead, Leanne. You want to follow up?
Well, I just wanted to just kind of touch on China. Obviously, you can see it's atrocious there. They're actually bottling air and selling it to tourists because it's so disgusting there. People are
like
having
Spaceballs.
Yeah, I mean, terrible
air.
diseases there, brain damage from the amount of pollution that's there. A lot of that is the fact that people really need to stop buying all of this cheap plastic crap that they just throw in the landfills. Their factories are just pumping out. I did a report over Christmas time, billions of dollars worth of Christmas lights that Americans are buying. Billions in Christmas lights. So this is just cheap plastic crap that is pumping out all of these toxic fumes into the air. And I know the caller was afraid of America. I don't think anyone here in the U.S. would like to see our air, water, anything be polluted in that way. And it is all about people just buying things of value. And if we're going to make things here in America, make sure that they're things that are going to last, not things that we're going to have to replace in just a few years because it's a bunch of crap.
And what did Trump say? Buy American, hire American. When was the last time a president ever said that?
Yeah. You know, Leanne, what you said in terms of China, that's another example. When we're talking about clean air, clean water, what we saw with the Obama administration was picking winners and losers within industries. But of course, the climate change people are picking winners and losers with countries. China, they're telling us it's a global climate crisis, and yet they allow China to build the dirtiest factories you can imagine, and they don't have a problem with that. But here, no matter how clean the coal plant is, they're going to shut it down. So that should give you an idea that they're not playing straight with you. They're not showing you all their cards. They're not honest about what their true agenda is. That's what people need to understand.
Yeah, great call. Let's go to Dwayne in Illinois, and then we're going to end with Eric in Michigan. That'll be all for the calls tonight. But don't forget, we will be back here Monday. Infowars.com/show is the free stream where you can watch this for free, spread that link free. We're also on YouTube, the Alex Jones channel, and on Facebook, Alexander Emmerich Jones. We'll be back here Monday showcasing another Trump rally as he goes back to the people. We've never seen a president do this, have these rallies into his presidency. We're over 50 days in, and he's holding more rallies because he feeds off the spirit of the people, and I think the cheers, and these people are happy to see what he's doing. They far outnumber the protesters that show up.
I think it's a very good sign that he doesn't identify with Washington, but with the people, and he has to go back to the people to recharge his batteries, to get his sanity back. I think that's a very, very positive thing, and I hope it continues because I hope he doesn't become a creature of Washington. That's the very last thing we want to see happen.
Oh, is Eric our last caller? Did the other guy hang up? Oh, okay. Well, we're about to go to him. So, Eric, you're our final caller from Michigan. Wants to talk about legal cocaine and heroin, and I guess something about his grandfather dying. Go ahead, Eric.
Hi, how's it going? First time caller, and just wanted to say, God bless y'all and God bless Infowars. And
thank you.
I wanted to talk to David Knight's point about, the legal drugs, and not necessarily cocaine and whatnot, but it's just that we have unfortunately accepted a state in this country where Big Pharma can literally get away with medical murder. And my grandfather, who had Alzheimer's, towards the end, when he was getting worse, he just kept getting experimental drug after experimental drug. And my mother, kind of just desperate to try to get him back to being halfway normal, had to sign all these waivers and releases. And it's like, there's zero accountability for them being a huge part of the death of your family member.
Yep.
Right.
And it's frustrating for the little guy because I don't have millions and millions of dollars to hire lawyers and go after these people.
That's right. That's right. And that's one of the key things, I think, when we look at the health care plan that Donald Trump campaigned on, and we never did get around to talking about Paul Ryan's, I call it Ryan-O Care. I mean, we had Romney Care, and of course he ran with Romney on the ticket. And then we had Obamacare, which is a clone of Romney Care, and now people are calling Ryan-O Care Obamacare Light. When we look at Donald Trump's program, one of the key things about that was to create a market and allow people to make the decisions in their own life and empower them to make that decision. And that's not just a financial empowerment, but it's an information empowerment. we should have the tools, and a major part of healthcare reform would be to give us information about the success and failure of these different treatments, the success and failure of individual doctors and hospitals. We need that information in order to operate effectively as consumers in a marketplace. So everything that Donald Trump ran on in the health care proposal that he put up, and it was a great proposal, it was all based on giving us back a marketplace and having us be empowered consumers. And part of that empowerment has to be understanding more about these various treatments. I think that's a big part of it. We have turned over this information and this power in our life. We have turned it over to the FDA, and the FDA gives these things a pass or fail. And if they say that it's okay, then no matter what happens to your family member, you're not going to be able to successfully sue them in most cases because it's been approved by the FDA. We need to be able to understand what the real, we need to be able to see the data, have that presented to us to understand that, hey, this is only effective about 49% of the time, but look at these side effects that are potential here. We need that kind of information as consumers to make intelligent decisions.
Especially on our health insurance. Y'all just put up that article from the Daily Caller. You know, you want to look at somebody like Donald Trump, 70 years old, works 6 a.m. to midnight, probably even longer, barely sleeps, and they say he's probably the first drug-free president we've had in decades.
Yeah.
No alcohol, no cigarettes, no drugs.
That's right.
It's so kids, you know, take a look at that if you want to be president someday.
Yeah, he was in Detroit this morning, and then he visited the memorial there. Then he had his rally, and then he went on Tucker Carlson. I mean, the guy, he's an animal.
And he's fighting
You mean
the
wait
courts.
a second. Smoking weed every day and sipping on gin and juice?
Don't listen to the Snoop Dogg, kids. Listen to the 45th president of the United States.
I was confused. I thought Snoop Dogg was president.
He's married to a babe. He's a billionaire. Come on, guys.
Well, I tell you, we had some great callers tonight. That was a lot of good questions, a lot of good thought-provoking questions that I think, you know, challenged, you know, us on where we stand on certain things. And I think it's great to see Trump going out there, making his plea again to the people, getting the rousing crowds. That guy tweeted back again, Leanne. He said, "Don't believe Leanne. There was 40,000 people in this crowd." So he heard your joke. Where he said,
I don't know. I don't even know if sports stadiums can hold that much. So I don't know. I'm not good with the math.
I tell you what, I went to some of these rallies and I would see lines blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks, and they had been letting people in for hours.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. And I didn't see that. Like Bernie was the only one that got close to it, and he wasn't even bringing in as many people as Trump. Not nearly. And the only way Hillary could get him in is when she conned a bunch of people to go see Bruce Springsteen in the middle of Philadelphia.
It still didn't
Still
Obama
didn't even
did
work.
too.
Yeah.
Obama would be part of a free concert from a big headliner, and that's how he would get his crowds in Europe and other places.
Exactly. So these people, they are Tokeman villages, if nothing else. And we'll have more tomorrow, the Alex Jones Show tomorrow at 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central. You can find us at the Infowars Nightly News. This was part of the Infowars Nightly News tonight, which we've been running since September 1st, 2011. And I don't know if I think I sent you guys an email, but we're going to be going all live starting in April. So it should be very interesting. I think we should take some calls, too, when we're doing that.
Yeah.
Now, I don't see why there's any reason, but we will be on a clock. Like right now, we're 12 minutes over. We won't be doing that.
We won't be doing that, callers.
We'll be going to the clock, and you'll hear the music coming up as we go to break and whatnot. But it's
been a 3-hour, 12-minute broadcast live.
Exactly. And we'll be back here Monday as well with the same thing, probably preempt, you know, what we're doing in the nightly news as well to show you another Trump rally. And let's hope it's got some more interesting tidbits. You know, we have the most, what do you call them? The most dishonest people in the world are now the media. They're not even very fake news anymore. They're just the most dishonest people in the world. So take that for what you will. Thanks for watching. We will be back here tomorrow, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central, and then on Sunday, and then back here on Monday with another live broadcast. Plus, we're doing live feeds all the time. So check them out. Spread the word. Infowars.com/show, the Alex Jones channel on YouTube, and Facebook, Alexander Emmerich Jones. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
We're
We're selling a product, DNA Force, that is the very best nutraceutical that we can produce. Dr. Group, you took years for you to develop DNA Force for us.
It's been something that I've been working on for a long time, Alex, because I think it's very, very important. What the aging process is when the cell replicates, we lose a little bit of our telomeres. Telomeres are the little cups on the end of our chromosomes.
And when it runs out, you start dying.
We chose the PQQ because it has over 175 different clinical trials. It's one of the most effective substances in the world. It works like an antioxidant. It works to repair nerve growth factor.
So this is a formula to deliver the maximum amount. It's in powder form.
We have so many 5-star reviews. I take this. This is the product that I take.
Infowarslife.com, and the profit we make. We fight the globals. We fight the New World Order. Secure your DNA Force today at Infowarslife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139.
We are transferring